Internet. Welcome back to Popcorn Chicken, where we talk about things that are on TV that you might like and we might hate, but you might also hate them. Anyway, Elvin is stuck in work because this just in, he has a real job. So Nathan and I are going to talk about Willow. And it is officially Dad's at work. He left us the keys and you came in wearing a leather jacket, so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get mine. So now we're gonna smoke cigarettes and drink beer and talk about boys.
I'm gonna pretend that this is a beer, but I'll be honest, it's a cranberry ginger ale.
Ooh.
I've kind of fallen in love with these things.
I cannot drink those because when I was like 16, I chased way too much vodka with those, and all I can taste is vodka whenever I smell cranberry club or ginger ale.
Wow, I guess that could be handy at times.
Yeah, I mean it's cheaper than Epicac.
I don't know why I'm so fuzzy today.
It's okay. Your camera's just drunk. So
I may not be drinking, but it has.
But yeah. Halfway through the show. Okay, Cowbug Dude's already halfway through this show. Oh, we're halfway through this show. So
is there only 8 episodes?
Yeah. There's only 8 episodes. This one I'm not gonna spoil my full opinion yet. But this one was much easier to watch. I'll say that.
Oh yeah.
It pretty much all takes place in this castle that they get to, and then they're dealing with the zombification curse, whatever, and going through a bunch of backstory of the husband to be, and dealing with a lot of the aftermath from the stuff that happened in the last episode. I'm gonna take my jacket off because it's warm. The joke's over. Yeah. But in this episode, they did something that they didn't in the last episode, which was mention Eric. The whole fucking point of them being outside.
It's about time.
I'm glad. Completely disregarded in the last episode, which, to the fault of the show, when they do mention him, I'm just like, oh yeah, that guy. I totally forgot. And yeah, so they're like going through trying to find ingredients for this spell that they just thought up of now for no reason. And they're like,
I thought the spell, they were only able to do the spell because they're in that specific castle, and that castle had all like the dark magic that
was that why
all the evil stuff. Yeah, so I read a bit about the episode later.
Okay,
and they said it, and it does make sense going back that the only reason why they're able to perform the exorcism is because they're in this castle where this sort of thing happened a lot, and so they have all the ingredients to perform the exorcism already there, including the book.
Gotcha. Okay. Because when they showed up at the book, I was just like, oh, that's convenient that this was here. Oh, that they have an apothecary here. Oh, thank God they're here. But like,
so that was my first reaction too.
Yeah, they really didn't drive home the fact that this is a specific building for these things. Okay, well that makes sense.
They only really mentioned this is a spooky, scary place. It's haunted. Be careful where you go. Don't go at the tower.
Yeah. And there was a bunch of cool stuff. Again, Boromir or
Boromir, something like
that.
Burmore.
I'm just gonna actually
Boromir.
I'm just gonna call him Boromir because no, not the film. Not the film. Willow TV show.
Borman.
It's
funny. That's easier than Boromir.
It is.
Borman.
Yeah, it's Kit's grandma's castle. Yeah, they kind of mentioned that Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was just
Well, they did. They kept saying like, this is your grandma's castle.
yeah, and the what's her name was just like, yeah, I was born here.
Oh no, sorry, not Willow. I keep thinking that would be her name. What's her name? Not
Laura.
Laura. Alora.
Elora.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
what else? There's a couple references to Kit being the granddaughter there, and one of them was
mhm.
on the tapestry. You remember the scene with the tapestry that
Yep.
Kit's looking at, and she's looking all over it, seeing kind of how her grandmother kind of, I don't want to say where the grandmother submitted to the crone and gained powers. And there's one part of it where
Yeah,
the
she's trying to join the
grandmother,
Illuminati,
yeah,
sacrificing children.
but there's one part where the grandmother apparently is sitting on top of like a flying lion, some sort of creature with a face that looks like Kit.
Oh.
I don't know if we can look it up.
Kind of foreshadowing that she is
Yeah.
the harbinger of Satan.
Oh, I found it. Oh no, that's just a medieval tapestry with the lady with the unicorn, and there's a lion that has a human face.
Sick.
That didn't work. I don't know. I have problems when looking stuff up or trying to take screenshots with Disney Plus, because every time I do,
It blacks out.
Yeah, exactly. Which
Yeah.
I get. They're trying to make sure you can't record your screen and just send it off. But at the same time, when you're trying to find a specific image to share with people,
when you're trying to do a fucking internet thing, you need pictures, and then Disney Plus is just like, no. And you're like, all right, cool.
No, you can just draw it. Go use like Night Cafe, get AI to draw it.
Yeah, exactly.
No screenshots.
Yeah, and have a bunch of weird, fucked up eyes and fingers.
Mm-hmm. But
the humor in this episode, I think, was a billion times better. And like, I actually chuckled at a few things. And nothing outward. So maybe it's just I'm getting used to it, so it's pissing me off less. But like when Jade and Kit were like being sassy at each other or at other people, I didn't roll my eyes nearly as much. So either that's me getting used to it, or that's character progression, and they're becoming less assholes now.
I don't know. I still don't like Kit.
No,
I know they're
not
trying
at
to
all.
set her up as the person that we don't like. My kind of guess is from the foreshadowing is that they're going to set her and her brother up as the bad guys, or just her.
Oh, that would be good.
Just because they're what's it, the Sixth Blood?
Yeah,
there's all these terms that I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah, because they just say them in passing, and then you're like, wait, is that important? Because you also just jumbled 3 fucking words that you made up that I've never heard about. And then you're like, but this one's important. It's like, okay, get some old British dude to narrate and say those words to me a bunch. Then I'll know that it's important.
Oh, so yeah. So sorry. So she's a descendant from a dark line known as the Blood of the Six.
Oh, okay.
She's my camera's working now.
Your camera's like, oh, okay, you're talking. Okay, fine. I'll work.
You're making sense now. We can fix it. So she's descended from that line. So is her brother. We're kind of I know we usually save theories to the end, but here's my theory at the beginning. We are seeing, was it not Eleanor? Alora. Thank you. We're seeing. I just remember as the girl with like I remember people by their hair in this show. There's a girl with the short hair, the girl with the curly red hair from the Solo movie.
Yeah.
There's the guy.
I like how you also reference her as the girl from Solo, because I have been doing that too. I'm just like, the girl from Solo.
It's because she looks basically identical.
She does.
And her character's similar in terms of like one's a knight, one's this leader of rebel warriors.
Yeah.
Okay, Dio, come here. Well, we have a third person now. We don't need Elvin to come in.
Oh, yeah, Elvin, you've been replaced.
Anyway, sorry, back to the theory. I think because we're getting this new kind of, I don't want to say love triangle. We're getting this new kind of relationship,
right?
Built between, what's his name? The guy from, Spider-Man. Who I really, the Prince
Oscar
Graydon.
Prince Graydon.
Bless you. We're getting that relationship between him and the maid girl,
Elora.
Alora. Sorry, her name's Alora, but it's also Dove or something like that from Earth at the
Dove
start.
is what the Kyle calls her. Yeah. Eric.
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, when I looked it up, her name was
name.
listed as Dove.
Really?
Yeah.
I like how IMDb doesn't even give a shit either. She's like, Dove, fuck it, nobody cares. She's a bird.
But I think that they're setting this up so that way we get this new relationship between Graydon.
Graydon.
I just looked up his name, Graydon. I think Graymore is a cooler name, but that's
Graymore is a cooler name. Yeah. Graydon is, I think, a real world name.
Sounds like Braden.
It sounds like Grayson.
Grayson. But we're getting this new kind of relationship, so that way when Eric and Kit are turned, we've got less of a reason to be like, oh no, they're gone. They can't be killed now.
Yeah.
And we'll be a bit more okay as an audience with them being the bad guys.
So, and then also too, there's a bunch of flashbacks in Graydon's past, which they like. He's getting the short end of the stick in this show, absolutely, because like he's a cool character, like, legitimately, and like he's forced into this arranged marriage, and he's just making the best of it, and like something was whispered to him by like one of his, I don't know, CIA guardians or whatever the fuck, that made him go on this quest with them, because he was just like, all right, I'll see you when you get back, and then like one of his henchmen were just like, hey, you should fucking go do the thing or something. We don't know what it said. And then he was like, okay, I'm coming too. And then he knows all of these things. And then Kit and Willow both just like shit on him the whole time when he's like, hey, I know history. I know the backstory of this. I know information. They're like, fuck you. You're not the wizard. I'm the wizard. And he's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's weird. A few members of the group dislike him, including his fiance. But I find it funny because, in my perspective, he openly admits, he's like, I don't know what I'm really doing here. I was told to come along. I didn't want to come along initially. I'm not trained for this. I'm not skilled.
I can help push the cart.
Yeah, he's that guy. And then people are angry at him, like, oh, come on, why can't you, rescue the maiden? Or why can't you, do this or that? They just look at him kind of as this useless, that's not your job. This is my job. Go do your job. You suck at your job, sort of.
Yeah, it's like just no matter what, they're just like fuck you, and he's like, all right, like he's accepting his role. He is holding himself accountable for the things he does not know how to do and will only fuck up, and then providing insight when he knows something for a fact.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good guy to have on your team. And but I guess everyone's 14 years old and only watches Nickelodeon, and I don't know. I had a joke here. It's not working. But anyway, everyone's an asshole to him, but he's super valuable. And then, but in this episode, we learn he has a dark past.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's like all chained up. Everyone's in this like big courtroom. He's all chained up. It looks like it's going to turn into a fun night. And
wait, before we continue, I love that little quip from Borman about the chain. Just like, I don't know, the Queen had some kinky parties at this castle.
Yeah, he's just like, oh yeah, they go for 3 days. There's some crazy shit that happened here. And they're like, oh, and he was just like, yeah, anyway.
Oh, that's just thrown in and not really touched on later on.
Borman's the saving grace of the show for sure. He's like got some like borderline Jack Sparrow vibes in this episode too, a bit, and he's just a good swashbuckler, like rogue character, and like we've mentioned this before. This show just feels like it's a D&D campaign.
Oh yeah,
because he is
100%.
like the rogue archetype. Like, okay, yeah, here's a joke. Yeah, I've partied here. Oh, steal this thing. Don't tell anybody. I got a big sword. Yeah, he's just like he's a rogue that spec'd in two-handed weapons.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's been the best so far.
And more along the lines of this feeling like a D&D campaign. This
Yeah,
is the dungeon scenario. They're in,
totally.
yeah, they're in a dungeon. Well, a castle, but really it's kind of,
It's
the
a
same
dungeon.
thing. Yeah, it's a dungeon. There, there's a central task that they need to accomplish.
Yep.
The place is haunted, and a couple of them, they generally have like a main task, and some of them leave around to figure things out and gather ingredients. And a few weird things happen along the way, and then there's this big moment at the end.
Yeah,
Someone's
and then
possessed.
Borman finds a locked door, and then he tries to lockpick it, but then he fucks up his saving throw roll, and he can't open it.
Rolled a 1.
Yeah, he rolled a 1, and he just his lockpicks disintegrated in his hand.
Speaking of that door, what do you think was behind that door?
It was very Siren-esque. But I think, was that not the tower? No, that wasn't the tower. That's what I thought too. So like right when he walked up to it, I was like, oh, is that the tower door? And that's why he's told not to go in there. But they were all, the people behind the door were like calling Borman's name. So yeah, maybe what the queen imprisoned a bunch of sirens or something, and that was who she brought out for the parties.
Yeah, those some wild parties. I've got 2 guesses. The first one is that chest plate that he's looking for is somewhere in there. And that's what first came to mind. The other one was, and I think this one's more realistic, we know that place was haunted and he was screwing around with people. I think that was screwing around with him. It's like, here's this door. Something very valuable is behind it. Could be what you're looking for. Could be something else. People are luring you in, trying to lure you in, but you can't get in. And that's something that we know that, he was kind of that thief that would normally be able to bust in and, get the treasure. But no, this is one thing he can't get in. And I thought it was maybe the castle taunting him or messing with him.
Well, because everyone else had like apparitions show up too of like things that were in their subconscious. So yeah, maybe that was just like a direct shot at him. They were just like, you can get into anything, you can steal anything, you're the best, but you can't get through this door. Maybe you gotta check yourself.
Yeah. But yeah. Or what happened next? They meet up.
They meet up, and then they were like, oh, we can do it this way. And then Alora is starting to learn and bringing in her baking prowess and was like, oh, we need this thistlethorn. And they're like, oh, they don't have any. And then she's like, well, these rats, their diet pretty much entirely consists of this rat. So
Nightshade.
Yeah, Nightshade. And then which again just brought it back to D&D stuff, because like that's Nightshade is an old D&D thing that's in like World of Warcraft and stuff and has been in everything. And then they're like, all right, Kit, go find the corpse of this rat. And then she has some snarky response and then ends up finding it because obviously it's there. And then she finds the tapestry that then burns, and then it shows like her flashback of her past and stuff, and then she picks up the rat. I thought it was going to be like oh no, I fucked it up, no, we can't do it, I dropped it on the ground, it's ruined. I'm like, it's a dead rat, like this shit will outlast the Sphinx, it's fine. Then she picks it up, brings it to him, and then they start doing then there was kind of a start of some backstory on Graydon, where he was like, because we've seen he's covered in scars before, and they don't mention anything or they just brush it off, and then now he's like, oh, I was sick as a kid, and it's just like, oh, so they just rearranged your entire internal system and then now you're better or something. And then we see some flashbacks of oh yeah, I was sick, and then he's just, his dad hates him because he did something horrible, and he continues to like show up and judge him and be like, oh, you'll never make up for what you did, blah blah blah. And then we see a flashback of him like hanging out with his brother, and then he just throws him off a tree and probably kills him. And then his eyes turn red when he was a kid, so he's got some evil in him.
Yeah, well, in I think it was the first episode, he tells I can't remember, or first or second episode, he tells Alora that he's good with, I think it was history, but also with magic, like just the knowledge of it.
Right.
And when we see the scars, it does, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like some sort of like ritualistic thing. There's like a circle with lines going around.
Yeah, it was definitely a pattern.
Yeah, and during the flashback, as you mentioned, like the eyes are all screwed up. He looks like God, what movie characters?
Davey Havoc.
The eyes that, yeah. So it's kind of like he's possessed by something, or there's a ritual where he got possessed.
Yeah.
Another random guess, it might be because he tried to like summon something as a kid, blew up in his face, ended up
possessing him,
and then he had the possessed version of him killed his brother, which is why he's like, it's not my fault. Yeah. But then when you just look at it from like without knowing that, it looks like it's his fault. So it kind of sets us up for this explanation. And it explains also why he knows all this stuff about magic.
Yep. And then they go through with the, oh, hello, Martin O'Cord.
What's up?
Martin Nordcode. I almost said it right. And then, then they go through the exorcism. They exorcise. They try to get the demons.
Exorcise him.
Yeah. And then Kit comes up and she kind of turns the other cheek. And then Alora's like, I can't do it. And then she's like, no, you're fine. You grew the bush. And then for some reason now she tells her to give her confidence. And in the final hour, she comes through, and now she's wanting to be a team player. I really like your theory that she turns evil at the end, because the whole show it's either really shitty writing and direction and acting. It's not bad acting. She's a good actor. It's just what she has been given. It's a shitty character.
Kit?
If she Kit. If she turns evil in the end and then they all have to fight her, they'll be like, oh, okay, I was supposed to hate you from the beginning. Okay, cool. So if that, I mean, it'll be kind of a lazy thing to do, because it would be way better if like this is a lovable character and we just adored her, and then at the end she gets taken over and she's actually been a double agent the whole time. We'd be like, oh no, the turmoil inside of me. Why did it have to be her? But now it's just like this fucking snarky teenager. It's like, okay, whatever, cut her head off. I don't care.
I think what they're going to try and do to make, if this theory is correct, to make it relatable, is they're going to take, oh gosh, what's her name? Jade. Because there's the mention in this episode that Jade and Kit have got something going.
Yeah,
they like each other. And I think that if Kit does turn to the dark side, then it's going to be Jade's job to either fix it or kill her, and that's going to be the audience's like emotional battle. Seeing, she doesn't want to do this thing. She doesn't want to harm her. I don't want to say friend. Her partner. Her closeted partner. Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're lovers. I think they're just like into each other, but they're not doing anything about it yet.
Well, they kind of, it was a pretty hard implication. It was like, it was an un-Disney thing to just like subtly be like, yeah, they bang. And you're like, okay, cool. And not be like, hey, aren't we cool? We put a lesbian couple in our TV show. It was just like, yeah, they're a thing. And you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, anyway.
That's true.
But this is the thing, is Kit looks like she's from LA and talks like she's like from like the States. Jade fits in this world.
Yeah.
But because of the like disconnect, it's just like, are they hiding it? Is this frowned upon in this era, or is this just like two fucking 20-year-olds and nobody cares? But then it's just like, oh, I know that you two are into each other, and now they're hiding it. It's like, well, pick a lane. Like,
that's why this feels like D&D. It's because it feels like they didn't like plan this out. They just like ad-libbing as they go along.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you know, someone's got an accent from somewhere because that's you know the player's actual accent. Another player wants to have a fun accent for some random reason.
Yeah.
And
want to RP a bit, and they'll do a British accent. You're like, okay, cool.
And then partway through the campaign, they're like, do you know what would be fun? Let's just have our characters like each other.
Yeah.
We've had a couple things in the past that could kind of build up to it. We'll just throw it in there.
Totally.
Which is fine. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings have worlds that feel a lot more believable, even though it's fantasy. It's pure fantasy, but the worlds are more believable.
Yeah, they spent the time to lay out the groundwork, and then also they were consistent. And they built worlds as opposed to just like, here's people, you should like them. And you're like, fuck you.
And also, one thing kind of just about Willow overall, not just this episode, is looking at like Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite, you know, series of movies of all time. The TV show's not real; it's fake.
Yeah,
sure. But the shows, they introduce all these new areas through the eyes of the hobbits. So that way, as an audience who's never seen this stuff before, who has no idea what's going on, it all gets introduced to them, which in turn introduces it to us. But in Willow, we don't have that. They just all kind of know what's going on, and we don't really get that feeling.
Willow says like, oh, it's the primordial swamps. And everyone's like, okay. And then they move on. And you're like, what the fuck? You just made up a Latin word and said swamp. Like, I don't know what that is. And they're like, that's fine. We got to go there. It's bad. And you're like, okay, I guess. But like, yeah, Lord of the Rings, like, again, I think in the first episode, I was like, I think Disney just looked in their back catalog and they're like, what do we own that's fantasy that we can make a TV series? Because Lord of the Rings is pretty hot shit. And, Game of Thrones is doing good too. We need some of that money. And we're like, got Willow. And they're like, okay, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's go to Wales. Let's go to Scotland. Kevin's got a castle, right? We can borrow that for the weekend. Yeah, cool. We're going to shoot there. We got a bunch of guys with swords. We're good. Did anyone watch Willow? Yeah. It's the one with Val Kilmer. Yeah. But turns out it was just, I can't think of a Val Kilmer movie to make this joke better. Anyway, but yeah. And then they're just like, let's get some Teen Choice Awards in the book. And I don't know. But it goes on to, they're doing the exorcism. It gets crazy. And then they cut to a different scene, and then they go back, and the exorcism happened, or so we're led to believe.
Did you believe that when that happened? He's just alone.
No,
everything's smashed around him.
Yeah, and he's just put his shirt on, and I was just like, oh no, he's fucked.
Willow's just run off. I don't know where.
Yeah,
let's go look for him in the tower where we're not supposed to go.
Yeah. We'll go to the East Wing. You're like, okay, sure, everything's fine. Also, the girl who like doesn't believe anyone, doesn't take orders from everyone, and is too stuck up to do anything, and she's like, okay, sounds good, buddy, who I hate, and just make fun of relentlessly. Yeah, let's go, let's do it. And oh, now you want to be a team player? Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
So then they go up to the tower. And then it turns out, oh no, he was bad. And this is too, a lot happened that they just brushed over. They were just like, oh, the exorcism happened. They had two people there. Now they're not. And then now Willow's up in the tower. Or no, then they go up to the tower. So like, what the fuck happened to Willow and Alora? No
they
idea.
never explain what happened specifically with Willow, because he's doing the exorcism. He just leaves, and later on he shows up in the tower.
Yeah.
No explanation why he left, where he went. Did he get injured? Was there a fight down there? Did
Yeah,
he just
did
run
an
away?
explosion happen? Like nothing.
Yeah.
They're just like, no, we stopped. We had a coffee break. And then I came back and he was gone. You're like, okay, well, maybe explain that much.
Yeah, and at first I thought, oh, Willow, like we know that he's got like a certain amount of mana that he can kind of
Yeah.
use. I thought,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
it's been used up.
The last episode he was he was out of mana, so then he couldn't do anything.
Yeah, so then this episode, when he specifically said, like, I need your help to do this, I was like, oh, it's because he can't do it. He's out of it. And that's what I thought, which is wrong, because later on when they're in the tower,
that's a good story plot.
Yeah,
that's a good plot point. They should have used that.
But they didn't. Instead, he uses a magic staff, which I will admit, I like the look of the staff. It looks pretty cool.
Yep. Again, this show looks great. It's shot like all of the shots look great. All the costumes look great. I disagree with the fact that all the kids' costumes look like they just came out of JCPenney 5 minutes before they shot, but that kind of alludes to the fact that they're green and they don't have any experience and it's not worn in. So like that can be explained away. And that makes sense. And like all the bad guys look really good. All the costume, like and all of the locations and everything looks great. All the effects. This is definitely a high budget Disney show. And like when they get to the tower and then he gets up and he's like, oh, actually, I'm fucking Satan. You're like, oh no, crazy. And then they're like, Willow here. And then they throw him a staff. Why was his staff on the ground? Did he just put it there before? Did he just know that they were going to like have the final bat? So his staff's on the ground. Kit is like, I'm useful. Throws him a staff that's already in the room that they weren't already in. Sure. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, you know what else is popular? Stranger Things. We should get her to float up and do the eyes in the back of the head. There, let's do that.
Back. Yep.
Yeah. And so then the Stranger Things happens. Then he does the You Shall Not Pass. They do the Lord of the Rings thing. Fucking spirit bomb explosion happens. The wire work and stunts were great when he flew and hit the wall and broke his back. Like that was a hard hit. Also, too, we've seen that happen. That moved 3 times and it's killed. What was the double daggered guy that died last?
The other Willow's friend. What is it?
It is. Wiggleheim? No.
I'm looking it up right now. No. Yeah, Silas?
Oh, Silas, yeah. So that killed Silas. I think Kyle or the Eric. And that happened. And I think it happened to Kit too. Anyway, so the breaking of the back happened. And then nothing happened. Oh, then they show like some because he's now possessed by the core or the lich.
Yeah, the lich.
Which is who?
I think the lich is like a servant of the crone.
So the crone is a group, right?
Is it? I thought the crone was
or
an
is
individual.
the crone a person?
No, the crone's an individual. That
Is
the group
crone
of those
the
things
dude with the cool staff in the beginning?
No, that's not. I don't think we've met the crone yet. The crone is that female voice occasionally we hear, the really menacing one.
Okay, I thought that was what the queen. The queen.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was the queen. The crone. I still don't think we've seen the crone, but let me look it up.
Because the crone sounds like a group. It sounds like a plural. They are the crone.
No, that's the Order of the Worm. So no. So the crone is an individual.
Oh, okay.
The crone was a powerful sorceress who mastered the art of taboo dark magic and she
Okay.
was the leader of the Order of the Worm.
Gotcha.
And the crone is the one that abducted. Kit's grandmother
Yeah.
was abducted by the Order of the Worm and
Okay.
was indoctrinated by the crone, and the crone was the leader. So the crone's
Gotcha.
this like really big villain we haven't seen yet.
Sidious.
She's controlling everything, and we know that she
puppet
exists.
master.
She's the big evil that is somewhere
Okay.
out there. We've only seen, and we see how powerful everyone else is.
Yeah.
And they're all like beneath her, like really beneath her.
So the crone was a
she's up
thing in the
there.
movie.
I haven't seen the movie still. Was she the big villain in the movie?
No, that was the queen.
Oh,
But she gets possessed and then or and then banished to the blood realm or some shit. And then
okay. So I've got some additional information. So the crone, in addition to being the leader of the Order of the Worms, or Order of the Worm, is in control of the Gales, and there's 4 Gales. And one of them is the Lich, and the Lich is the guy with the cane that we saw that initially infected the knight, and then that infection spread. So he's got the ability to possess them, and he was eventually kicked out. I don't know if he's dead or if he's just gone now, like banished. But something happened to the Lich. His possession is gone from the main characters, so he's out there. But at the very end of the episode, we saw 2 of the Gales. We saw, what are their names? I think we saw
the big cage guy and then the teeth girl.
Yeah, the teeth girl's called the Dag.
Cool.
And I'm guessing...
Is there umlauts in her name?
No. The Doom was the really cool one with like the teeth right here and like the helmet. But we haven't seen... I think we only saw him in the first one. The other one's called the Scourge. He's the guy with the least intimidating one, in my opinion. The one with the metal helmet. He just looks like a character that you can like... He's a boss. A mini boss. And you'll take him down.
Yeah, he's an elite.
Yeah, he'll like beat you to a pulp a bit, but
if you get behind him, he's got a weak point back there.
Yeah, and you can be slow turning around. Yeah. So that's kind of, I don't know, those are the mini bosses that we're currently contending with, but we haven't met the main boss yet, the crone. Mm-hmm. We've only heard of her.
Okay.
She's the one that's teaching everyone really dark magic, and
it would be cool. That all said in the show.
Yeah. Because
that sounds cool. And like, I'm sure they mentioned it in passing at some point, but like a couple of those bad guys show up in this episode, or they like cut to them being menacing, and I was like, oh yeah, those guys. But like, if we had a full episode or like half an episode of like them plotting and planning and stuff, it was like, okay, now I know who the enemies are, as opposed to a 10-minute fight with these 3 cool, awesome, amazing looking characters, and then they just fuck off for 4 episodes. Yeah. And then they show up here, and I'm like, is that the teeth girl? The one who fought Eric and then did like a cool thing? I don't know. And it was, oh, that's the cage dude. Okay. But like, we haven't seen them. And so
yeah, they don't do, the show just doesn't do a good job of explaining things. They kind of assume that, you know, if we had an episode, like you said, an episode setting things up, that would be great. I know they kind of wanted to have that first episode. Half of it was the politics at home but the events at home, and then half of it was, you know, out in the world, starting the adventure. And it's nice that they didn't just throw us immediately into the adventure, but we still, if you're going to not explain everything like they do, then we need at least one episode to really introduce everything.
Yeah.
I'd even be fine with like one of those Lord of the Rings. I keep mentioning Lord of the Rings. But one of those Lord of the Rings
there's huge
5-minute narrations at the start.
Yeah.
They just like, oh, here's the big villain, the crone. This is what she's done in the past. This is what she's looking to do. These are her main minions. Or even if they don't want to show the main minions, have Willow explain it a bit more.
Yeah.
Like they mentioned the Lich's name the first time during this episode. I think this was the first time because I've never heard that name before, or at least I can't remember so too. It.
And if this isn't the first time, then they didn't. They probably mentioned it, and then Kit made some sarcastic remark, and which then also tells the audience like, oh, this doesn't matter. When you have your main characters completely dismiss a huge plot point, then you think, oh, then I shouldn't give a shit about that either.
Yeah.
But then 3 episodes later, they go, hey, remember this thing that we mentioned? It's a plot point. And you're like, well, fuck. Now I got to unarchive that shit that I forgot on purpose. And then also, too, so then they do a fight, and it's cool. And then, and then also, too, there was the thing where Borman runs up to the girls, and he's like, oh, you stole the thing that I told you that I didn't steal or find. So
yeah,
and then when they get out, he's like, oh, I have it. So yeah, there was some weird mind fuckery happening.
Yeah, I guess that must have been like the place messing with his mind. But did they? I may have like looked away. Did they have a scene where he was looking for it in his pouch and it wasn't there?
I don't think so. It was after when they get out of the castle, he then pulls it out and he goes, oh, it's here.
They should have done that when he was in the castle, though, in my opinion. Just like looking at it, and from his eyes, like it's not there.
Yeah.
So that way the audience is like, oh, it's gone. It's actually gone. And that explains why he just runs up. And
because he just shows up and then blames them.
Yeah.
And then
it's I was like,
oh yeah.
Wait, what? How did he lose it?
Yeah.
He wasn't fighting. He wasn't doing. He literally like crouched down, and he has a pocket that can't open unless you like unbutton it.
Yeah.
And that's all he did. Crouched down, stood up, walked around. It's gone.
Found some wine.
Maybe they're trying to make him seem drunk, but I get that he was like, his mind was, I don't even think drunk. I describe him more as like high. He wasn't stumbling around very much. He was just like in another world.
So then they get out, they go to their next quest, and then and then somebody saw a vision of Kyle or Eric. I keep calling him Kyle. Of Eric, and they're like, oh, he's warm and he's in a cage. It's okay. And then they cut to Eric in his cage, and for the first minute I was like, who the fuck is this? And then I was like, oh, it's Eric. It's the guy that they forgot about and the entire reason they're out here. But now he's all disheveled and he's not wearing the thing, so he looks nothing like we've seen him before. Then they just show him after forgetting about him for 2 hours and then expect me to be like, oh, our guy. But for the first minute, I was like, who the fuck is this? Why are we here? Why are we here? Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's this guy. And then everyone's gone from his encampment.
Mm-hmm. Well, his encampment, that was what's it called? The impossible something city. Immemorial City.
Right.
And I'll be honest, that place, it kind of doesn't, I get they want it to look otherworldly, but it really doesn't fit the theme of fantasy. It makes you think like there's skyscrapers in the distance, but the skyscrapers were like made out of, sandstone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just looked kind of weird. Have you played The Witcher before? The Witcher 3?
A little bit, yeah.
There's spoilers for everyone on Witcher 3, so I'll give you a couple seconds.
It's been out for like 10 years. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. They just remastered it.
Yeah, exactly. It already has a remaster. If you haven't played it, it's your fault.
There's a point where in The Witcher you can actually you don't choose to, but you go through different dimensions, right, or different worlds, and it's not just like a fantasy. Here's like the hell, here's the regular world, here's this really wonderful fantasy world. It's like, no, these are actually different, like planes, almost like planes of existence. There's, the world you're from. There's some worlds that are kind of magical, some that are like sci-fi futuristic. And they made that make sense because it really shows that they built up, that there are all these different worlds, and him going through the different ones, even when you're out of place, it's a fantasy game, and all of a sudden, for a short period of time, you're in this alien sci-fi-esque world.
Mhm.
But here, for me at least, going from this fantasy setting and seeing that he's in this city with what looked like to me skyscrapers in the distance, I just thought, I get they're trying to make this look like an ancient city that was really powerful, but that it just looks kind of weird to me, a little out of place.
Yeah, and then they end the episode with another modern cover, which again just takes you out of the fantasy setting constantly. Which one was this? Was this?
Before it did that though, we got to see two of the Gales, the Dag, which is like the Raven lady with the teeth, and the Scourge with the helmet
cage,
thing, the caged head, looking at them and deciding that they're going for the girl. And the thing is, though, they don't specify which girl.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's a bunch of girls with them.
Yeah, are they going? Most likely, it's either Kit or the goddess woman, Alora. Thank you. I don't know why I can't remember her name.
It's a dumb name.
But
Dove.
The Dove. Dove is easy to remember. But Kit being of the dark bloodline, so it makes sense if they're going to go for her because they already went for her brother.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that does make sense.
Because then if they go for her and they get both of them, they could indoctrinate them. They could be the new big evil villains. But if they decide to go for Alora, then obviously, they're trying to get her, banish her, do something like that to store her soul, as we've seen in the previous couple episodes when they try and kidnap her.
So the people who get infected, is it like a hive mind thing? Because it seems like the guard that Jade kills, Valentine and Graydon, are both possessed by the same dude.
Oh, it is. It's the Lich.
Yeah, or he can come. So is it like an infection where they just become a bad guy, or is it always the Lich controlling?
It is. It's kind of weird because
does he know about Alora? Or is he just like, oh, I'm infected now. Oh, I can take over this guy. Or is it just like you are just infected and you're a zombie. You're a pawn of the bad people now. Or is it?
He's got. I think it's kind of a mix of both. It's kind of weird because at one point we see. I was going to call him Eric. I see Graydon talking to Alora up in the tower, and he's speaking as if he's this really angry Graydon. He's like, look at me, I'm so strong. You should love me now. Why do you still love Eric? That sort of thing. And that shows, okay, Graydon's got some feelings for her and is coming forward, this jealousy. Yeah. But at the same time, he also sometimes speaks like the Lich, where he's talking as if he is the Lich, where he's doing things like trying to pretend to be Eric with his voice. Oh, I'm scared, while trying to distract Alora from banishing the Lich.
Yeah.
I think it's a mix of both.
So then they know that Alora is powerful.
Oh, I think they've known that already because they tried to kidnap her earlier. I don't know how they figured that out, though.
Well, they were originally told to go and take her by the Queen. The guards.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, do you know what? That is true. Actually, do you know what? This is a plot issue, unless they explain it, because they're told to bring her back to the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
With her identity was hidden from everyone, which is why she's over with the Queen, and only the Queen knows. But then all of a sudden, the Lich is aware that she's magical as soon as he gets there. So oh, she's magical. My only guess why the Lich could guess that is because she was trying to do the spell with the plant when he caught her. But even then, how would you know that she's Alora? You'd think that, it's just someone trying to do magic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little confusing. Doesn't really make much sense.
And then was it Aerosmith that they covered at the end of this?
Do you go through, like, I go through the end to see if there's like a
end credit scene?
Yeah, an end credit scene.
I do skip ahead, or I bring up the like guide where it shows the little thumbnails.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Why, was there anything? Because I didn't see anything.
No, there never is.
Oh yeah.
But I always check because I feel like this is the type of show that would do it. The end, it was Black Hole Sun.
Oh, it was Chris Cornell. What's that band called?
It starts with an N, I believe.
No.
Oh no, sorry, no, it doesn't. It starts with an S.
Soundgarden.
Yeah.
And then there was a Soundgarden song, and I was like, okay, this feels like Guardians of the Galaxy now.
I feel like it kind of gives off like this is the fantasy version of it because everyone's got like a little quick, I don't know, witty comment to say. Although sometimes it doesn't come off as witty. Usually, if it's said from Kit, then it comes off as annoying.
Yeah,
but I do feel like they're trying to pull this. They're swearing. There's innuendo.
Yeah, I don't remember them saying shit in the last bunch of episodes.
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh no, they did say it a little while ago. Oh.
7.5 out of 10 for me. I'm assuming that's Alvin.
That is Alvin. I'm sure you got the message earlier today from him. He mentioned to me that he enjoyed this one a lot more than the last.
Yeah, I would say this is the best episode so far.
Yeah, it still has issues, and the overall plot I'm still a little confused by. But
completely
this episode,
confused.
All the other episodes try and take you from place to place to place. In fairness, it's an adventure kind of story. You have to keep traveling. This time they actually sat down, they stayed in one place, stationary, and
they had a mission, they had a goal.
Yeah.
And then shit went awry, and then there was complications, and there was progression of one thing, as opposed to just like, now we're here. And you're like, okay, where are we? And they're like, we're in the arguable forest. And you're like, cool, what's that? And they're like, never mind, we're over here now. And I'm like, fuck, okay. And this guy's here, and I know all the things about him, but I'm going to start talking about it, and then some teenager is going to be like, fuck you, old man, and then we're going to move on again. And you're like, I would like to hear about that. They're like, nope. Now there's a bad guy here, and he's going to take the person that you don't know who it is. Why does he take you? No worries, we're in a cave now.
Brother, one thing we did finally learn is the women in the woods. They were out in the woods. They didn't. For the longest time, we were given this massive introduction to them. They were just killed off. It felt like, what was the point? Now we finally get the reason. I think it's kind of late for it because it's for like an episode or two. It just seemed out of place. But now we've gotten to the point where we understand that moment was so that way Alora would kind of feel that guilt and carry it around like, oh, these people died for me only because I stumbled upon them and I asked for help. If I just left, they would have been okay. That message that lesson to me would have had more meaning if it was closer to the actual event rather than, an episode or two away, because Disney likes to take a week between releasing episodes. So you kind of forget a little bit of that emotion that's there when you first experience the episode, leaves you a bit by the time you get to the next.
But also too, if that was the purpose of it for character development, which sure, fine, that is a good way of putting gravity on the fact that she wants to protect people and feels guilty about that. Why make it so shrouded in it? Why was it so out of place? Like, again, they were going through this misty dark forest that I thought there was going to be tree ants, and that's why none of the bad guys went in there, because they were like, oh shit, that's where all the rats of unusual size are. And then there's like, nope, sun's out. Now there's these two ladies in a wood cabin, and you're like, okay. And then they're like, they're important, they're dead. Oh, okay. What? Was I supposed to pay attention? No, it's just to make her feel bad later. Okay.
We won't even tell you about it, except until a couple episodes later when you've probably forgotten about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you mentioned it, I didn't put that together until you were like, now there's a reason for it. And I was like, I guess that is a reason.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where they were trying to do something which is valuable. You want to have the main character understand the gravity of the situation. People are going to die for her, and she's going to hate it. But that's not really, if you're going to do something like that, have a main character that you're going to kill off. Like we had, was it Silas? He died, but she didn't really have a connection for him.
Yeah, like he was cool, but like after he was gone, I wasn't like, oh man, I really miss Silas. I was like,
yeah. See, if they gave Silas a bit more time, just to interact with the characters, for us to learn more about him, and for him to build a relationship with Alora, and then as he's trying to protect Alora, maybe like Alora's about to get like whacked in the head, and he jumps up, tries to stab one of the possessed knights, and he ends up getting flung against the wall. Then it'd be like, oh shit, like I liked him, and he just got killed trying to protect her. And then she would have this epiphany, like, oh my gosh, people are going to die for me. I hate this. I don't want to go through it, but I have to.
Or instead of having Kit recognize that or find the bush that she grew with her spell, and then pretending that she was annoyed by it, and then later in this episode, then being like, oh, your spell worked. Have Elias do that, or Silas do that.
Yeah.
Have Silas find it, and then later tell her, and him be the reason why she gets confidence to then later help them, and then then you can be like, you totally got this. You're gonna be the best wizard ever. You grew a strawberry bush, and then in this moment when she's able to do this, have her like flash back to that, and then it adds more like, oh, Silas believed in me. He told me I could grow a bush. I can do this. And then you're like, oh, people are dying for me. Silas, no. Then it's like, okay, this character that you took so long to, But no,
that's another thing though that got me, that you just brought my mind back to it. How the hell does like I can grow a bush? Didn't see it. I just got told about it, but I can grow a bush. Now I'm going to perform an exorcism. It's just like, whoa, that's a massive jump.
That's a pretty big jump.
Like, how do you assume that that's just going to work?
That's like, going like, I'm a herbalist. Oh, but don't worry, I can exorcise Satan now because I knew how to water a tree with my mind.
That didn't really make sense to me. A lot of the show, it's not a horrible show. I personally, have you seen the latest Lord of the Rings show? I forget what it's called.
Rings of Power?
Rings of Power. Have you seen any of it?
Yeah, I watched all of
it. You won't offend me, but what's your opinion?
I thought it was fine. I watched it all the way through, and I was thoroughly entertained. And then everyone was just like, this is the worst thing ever. I was like, it's fine. I was kind of annoyed that the ladies don't have beards, but other than that, I was like, none of this pisses me off. Like everything is like, it still feels like Lord of the Rings. Like there's a couple like kind of cheesy references that it's just like, oh, remember this guy? It's like, yeah, I remember that guy. Like, he's important, and you're like, okay, sure, whatever. It's fan service. Like it was just a fan service show that I wasn't blown away by, but I wasn't put off by. I was just like, yeah, this is fun, cool.
The thing is, so for that show, what I forgot my main point of talking about it, but I'll still talk about it anyways. That show got the rights to use like the name and the general premise, but they couldn't, like, it's a Lord of the Rings, but they couldn't actually take this is the book it's based on.
Well, and also they didn't have the rights to like a lot of the names.
Yeah, they didn't.
They didn't have Saruman or Gandalf because those are copywritten, and there's like I looked into it a bunch actually because I was like, why aren't they just straight up saying this is Gandalf? Why aren't they straight? And then it's like, okay, maybe they're gearing up for a plot twist in like season 2 or something. And then I looked into it and they're just like, oh no, they just straight up don't have the rights. So they had to write around it. They had like limited intellectual property access. and they could only say it's based in this universe, and we can say, yeah, exactly. Who cares?
I agree, Alvin. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was great. I was just saying I watched it and was entertained, but like I wasn't moved.
Oh yeah, no, it's entertaining, and the visuals are, it's stunning.
Yeah.
In fairness, Amazon pumped in a ton of cap. Like I
Oh,
think
yeah.
this is the most expensive TV show on like ever. It's like
Really?
$1 billion for the season, something crazy like that.
Really? Holy shit.
Let me quickly look it up. I want to confirm it.
I'm gonna grab a beer. 1 second.
No, where is Power of, what was it? Rings of Power. Sorry, I always mix up the title. Rings of Power cost. The total cost for Rings of Power. Yep. Cost over $1 billion US. And Alvin commented was my pick as the worst TV show in 2022. Alvin, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're forgetting about Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan was bad, but at least they weren't rewriting stuff.
Sure.
I understand that.
Yeah. Well,
I understand Lord of the Rings didn't have the rights to it, but I forget if it was a producer or a writer, but I think it was a producer. So I'll just assume it is for now. A producer claimed that they wrote the story that Tolkien never could. They said that they could do a better job than him.
Oh,
and then they had some. So that really, I'm a complete nerd. That really sent me over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tolkien, he spent a huge chunk of his life world building, and the Silmarillion is a world building story, essentially.
Yeah.
And I believe Alvin has read it, or at least I know he acquired some of the older Lord of the Rings books, the world building books, as a bit of like background reference material for this. And it is just sad to see Rings of Power just stray so far, even though I know they didn't get the rights, but having them stray so far, change a bunch of characters. They decided to go woke, which I know saying woke these days sounds like I think it's deviated from an actual political thing.
Yeah.
And it's now more of just people trying to prove some sort of virtue at the expense of, often at the expense of
continuity.
Story. Yeah. And we get Galadriel as this really powerful figure in the books, and she's this incredibly intelligent person. She's never a warrior, but you never look at her as like, she's just like a weak woman.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be a warrior to do that, to be powerful. But in order for the show to make her look powerful, they turn her into this warrior who's a bit of an idiot, makes mistakes, but also is right, willing to sacrifice everyone. That's what I meant by idiot. But
they humanize her when she shouldn't be. You shouldn't be able to relate to her. Like, she's a like huge, powerful elf mage, like borderline sentient goddess. And then they're like, but she's just like you. It's like, no, she's not.
Yeah.
She makes mistakes. No, she's this brilliant tactician, sorceress kind of like elf. And then not a bumbling idiot. Like, no, absolutely. I'm not saying that there wasn't holes in it and galore. But as far as just like a show that is like loosely based in a universe, I don't think of it as like Lord of the Rings canon. Absolutely not.
Oh yeah, no.
But like going through the show, just like kind of switching my brain off, like whatever. It was fine.
I do that for Simpsons episodes that I've already watched dozens of
times.
Yeah. Because I know they won't upset me. I'll be like, I like that show. I can listen. Actually, this is a horrible habit I have. But every night for bed, I will turn on, usually within the first to like 13th season of The Simpsons, put on a random episode, turn the brightness down to like as low as it can go, put my phone face down, and just listen to it till I fall asleep.
Yeah, I do that with Seinfeld. I went to the dentist a few weeks ago, and they were like, all right, here's some headphones, here's some sunglasses, here's Netflix. And I was like, oh, I don't have to pretend to have a conversation with you? They're like, fuck no. And I was like, this is the best.
Especially when their hands are in your mouth and like,
oh yeah,
how's your day?
I don't want to talk to you even if I don't have a mouthful of your fist.
But yeah, so I can't remember. I deviate too much. Can't remember exactly what we were talking about before we started talking about Rings of Power. There's a connection.
World building and stuff.
Yeah, with world building. With Amazon, they rewrote it, and I don't like that. But
Yeah.
Willow, even though they've got the movie from before, and I haven't seen it yet, but forgive me, you have seen it?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it. Alvin's seen it. But you both still say like you still get confused by.
Oh, that's the thing. Like
this.
that I brought up in the first episode. I was like, who the fuck is this show for? Because like I don't know of, and I've talked to a couple of people who have also seen it, and like I don't know of any like diehard lore Willow fans who are like, oh, finally this story gets to be told. And it's, again, I've watched the movie and I've watched a few like YouTube videos of like, here's all the things you need to know before watching the TV show. And I was like, all right, I should watch those. And then I saw all of those and I was like, all right, I'm caught up. And then I watched the TV show and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck any of this is. Mm-hmm. So like, it's just bad storytelling because like I've done all the research and they're just introducing things that I'm like, okay, I guess you'll tell me about that later. They're like, nope, and I'm like, fuck me then.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
How long were you guys gone for? How far are you, Alvin?
Yeah, how far are you?
If it's an hour, I don't think we can talk about this episode for an hour.
No, but I can talk about something else that I saw.
Another new show or something from
a new movie. But
new movie.
So let's give it our scores. Alvin gave it a 7.5. Yeah, what do you give it?
Do you know what? For once, I'm going to give a lower score than Alvin. I thought that it was a good episode. It improved, but I still have, overall for the series, I'm still very confused by a lot of stuff. And there's no major. I kind of like some action fight scenes. Mm-hmm. I know this episode wasn't supposed to be so much about that, but I felt like seeing Willow use some cool magic beyond just pushing the guy against the wall would have been kind of fun. Because he's always hesitant to use his magic, and then he will use it, but it's kind of.
There's no stakes for his magic. He's always bitching about how I'm not powerful enough, but then he just does it, and then he's like, oh, I'm tired, and then he's fine. He has like a Red Bull, and he's fucking walking around like no problem.
Yeah. So for me, I'm going to be giving this a 7 out of 10, just because it is definitely the best episode we've gotten so far.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It left me with some questions that were good to leave unanswered, and it also left me with some questions that should have been answered an episode or two ago.
Yeah.
So for now, 7 out of 10, which is I think reasonable. We're halfway through. It's gotten better. We could still improve.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think I'll give this one my highest score. I'll give it a 5.
Wow.
Because it was fine. It's I think that's my highest score. I might have given episode 2 a 5 as well because the fight scene and the bad guys were really cool. But again, I just want to show just of the bad guys. Like if we got half of this season that was like the first half was here's the evil guys and like here's a little bit of like the good people and like there, but you see them like building this plan and brooding and then hatching it and then implementing their attacks and you learn about the fact that they have the power to like zombify people and control them and you learn all that and then they go fuck up the castle and kidnap Eric. You'd be like, oh shit, whoa, this is cool. Yeah. But like they were just like, oh, everyone's cool, it's fine, here's these couple references that you probably don't remember and the bad guys, and now they're like, now we're on an adventure, and you're like, who's it for? And they're like, some fucking teenager we mentioned once, and you're like,
some guy far away,
and then we'll forget about him for. But yeah, this one it had tons of absolutely D&D vibes, and it was just like they're in a dungeon doing cool shit, and it was like, all right, this one's fine. I chuckled a few times, and our boy Borman did some funny shit.
Yeah.
And now they're on to more. I really hope that it goes up from here. It is improving. I'll give it that.
Like, I want to like this series.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. I'm not going to see. I got hiccups now. I'm not going to see the movie.
I learned a thing on the internet that probably doesn't work, but everyone swears by it. Hiccups are a evolutionary thing from when we used to be fish. And so you just need to tell yourself, I'm not a fish, and you'll stop hiccuping. Because you're breathing air and you're supposed to. You'd be like, I'm not a fish, I'm a human. I'm supposed to breathe air.
I'll try that. But I'll
do it right now.
Sounds crazy.
I learned it on TikTok, so it obviously doesn't work. But
well, I'm not hiccuping right now. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so what else? I really want to like the series. It does give me like major D&D vibes. This is it's I don't know, the Corridor Digital. I don't know if you see they're doing like
D&D
thing. I think they do a pretty good job of it. Yeah. But this is one of those fantasy worlds where you kind of have to have some background stuff for it. Because even Star Wars shows, even if you don't know if you haven't seen, like, let's say you're watching the Kenobi series for the first time, which is a mistake, don't. Well, let's say you're going to do that and you've never seen any other Star Wars stuff, no context, which I wouldn't recommend to going into it, but let's just say you do. They at least set you up with enough stuff for you to make assumptions about what's going on.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said to Elvin about Andor. I was like, I know that you shit on the show constantly, but like, you can watch Andor, and this is probably why they put it on like basic cable. And it's the first Star Wars thing to be on TV, is because you can watch Andor never knowing anything about Star Wars. You just go, oh, there's a grizzled dude looking for his sister in this like brothel, and then he shoots 2 cops. And now people are pissed at him. Oh, these guys are in white suits. They must be pretty important. Oh, they're pissed about the cops that got killed. They're trying to find this guy. Oh, okay, cool. And then it's just, oh, now there's these guys trying to do a bank heist. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, it's the same guys who are pissed at him for killing cops. Oh, okay, those are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And like, that's good storytelling and good world building. And they slowly pepper in, like, here's some extra stuff. But like, they also too, they don't fuck with the Force or Jedi at all. So then they're just like, here's some space cops that got killed and some like guy who was trying to get money and he fucked up. And then here's a show about that. Then there's a politician who's funding the rebellion that the bank heist that he gets into, and you're like, oh, there's some political intrigue. That's cool. And they're like,
yeah.
Here's a prison break now. And you're like, oh, cool. I know what prisons are. We have those here. Like, that's good storytelling.
Yeah, they do a really good job with that. But Willow, even if they had a separate, but I guess they do have a separate movie, but if they had another series or another movie entirely built to world building, I say that the movie might be a bit of world building, but they didn't link it up with anything else that could really help us out.
Yeah.
Are there Willow books? I don't think so.
No, I don't think. No, this is just like something that George Lucas had an idea for, and he wanted to give Warwick Davis a job. And he was just like, you were a good Ewok. Do you want to do a Lord of the Rings thing? And that's how this movie came about.
And like, I love Warwick, but this is not his.
He's not. But also, too, there was a bunch of flashbacks in this episode showing clips of very young Warwick Davis talking in the movie, and I was like, oh, I think he's just a bad actor. Because they showed a bunch of clips of him like monologuing, and he's talking the exact same, like he's in a high school play, and I was like, oh, that's just how he is. Okay.
Well, doesn't he play that Goblin in Gringotts Harry Potter?
Or are you just being, no, it's not racist, is that just sizing? Maybe.
I thought he did, because that was great acting. I'm looking this up right now. Movies and TV shows. Life's Too Short. Leprechaun 2. Actually, no. Okay.
He's pretty typecast. I'll give him
He is in Harry Potter. Yes, so he is. He's in the Solo movie too. And he's in Star Wars Return of the Ewok.
Yeah, no, he was one of the main Ewoks.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He was He was the one that Carrie Fisher fucks with.
Oh yeah, and they all
he was Professor Flitwick.
Yep. So he is a good actor. Wait, didn't he also play the Goblin?
No. Oh, he played two
professors, right?
He was the one with glasses and the one with the beard.
Oh yeah, I always thought that was the same character.
It might be. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. They're different.
Or are they just? Oh, he was also in The Last Jedi. He's in like every Star Wars. He was in Rogue One.
Yep. No, so he is also the Goblin.
Oh, he was?
He is also the Goblin. And
yeah,
all of them are good.
Grip Hook. Oh, and he also voiced it in the games too.
So I think that my first impression was that this is bad acting. But I think maybe he's just trying to imitate how he acted as Willow early on in his career when he was a bad actor.
Yeah. When he was 15 and literally was a high school theater major, he had his presentation for lines and stuff, and he's just regurgitating that. So okay, that's sure, that's fine. So we've given our scores. Alvin's starting his camera shit up. So while we wait for that, I'm going to tell you quickly about a movie I just saw a few days ago. And it's in theme because it's Christmas time. And I saw Violent Night.
I thought you were going to say that you watched that. I think it's called Spirited, that musical with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds.
No.
I thought you were going to say that. You look like a musical kind of guy.
I fucking love musicals. Don't get me wrong.
So do I. I watched it.
I was speaking of high school and college theater kids. That was all me. I did Les Miserables. I did Little Shop of Horrors, Jesus Christ Superstar, the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
And but no, Violent Night. My girlfriend and I were like, it's the guy from speaking of Stranger Things, the guy from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's just like an action movie where there's this like rich family, and then there's these people who try and kidnap him and extort them for money, and then Santa is real and he shows up and he fucking murders them all with a sledgehammer and candy canes and shit, and it's super violent and super gruesome. Yeah. This movie has no right to be this good. It was so good. It was like the people who made this movie just got together and then they were like, well, we can't say that Die Hard's a Christmas movie anymore. People don't like that. So fuck it. We're going to make an action movie that's badass and gruesome, and it's actually going to be a Christmas movie. The choreography and the fight scenes were so, like, every person who's in this movie is a stunt actor. Like it's obvious. Because all the fights and all the hits and like everything, it's so well done. The dialogue's really funny. The characters are super well done, and they're annoying in a good way. There's and the plot's funny. The fact that he's actually Santa is really funny, and then also there's some backstory of how he used to be like a Viking warrior, and when he was a Viking, because he's like 5,000 years old, he had a giant hammer that he called Skull Crusher, and then his wife gives him or sends the reindeer back, and then she gives him a sledgehammer, and then he just fucking murders people. It's so fucking good. It's like the perfect theater. We saw it in D box, so like chairs are vibrating and exploding and like moving around. It's like if you just want to go get drunk on like eggnog and watch Santa fucking murder a bunch of dudes, it's great. I cannot recommend it enough. It was so entertaining. It was just the perfect season action movie. It was funny, well acted. There was like even the child actors were good. And it was just a lot of fun.
I gotta see it.
Go watch it. It's a great time.
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
How are you, gents?
Kenobi.
I apologize for not being here to everybody that listens to us. I know I am the man of the hour,
General Kenobi,
the showstopper. So I apologize.
He's avoiding us.
Hey, Elvin, tell people to subscribe and shit.
He didn't want to subscribe. Higher score.
All of our awesome fans, make sure you subscribe. Nathan and Justin held it down pretty good. I was listening to you guys on the way home. I think you did a good job, guys. I'm proud of you guys.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
The young Padawans are, moving on now. Hopefully not to another own channel.
And for once, we all gave. I think this is the first time Justin.
Was I too generous? Was I too generous?
I gave it a 5. I think that was my highest.
I gave it a 7, and mine's like a bit of a.
I had you pegged for 7. I didn't have him pegged for 5. I thought he was going to give at least 6.
No, I nothing like. There wasn't any like whoa cool moments. There was a few, but like it was still confusing and like it's still not a good show.
It's not. It's not.
Let's still like in comparison to all the other episodes, this was a good show. But in comparison to any fucking thing on TV, this is a bad show because I was still confused when they showed the fucking reason they were on this quest at the very end. They showed Eric and for a full minute. I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Why are you showing?" Oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Did he just wake up too?
Yeah, he just woke up and then they were like, "Here's this disheveled white dude," and you're like, "Who the fuck is that?"
But I mean, like, did he wake up at the moment that our main cast? Just finished.
Nobody knows. That's the problem with the show.
Like this happened 3 days ago.
There's too many loose ends in the show.
Is this related to the all the things that we just saw in this episode, or is this just well they're done? Let's show you this guy now.
Like they talk about portals and this and that. Like we don't even know if this guy's on the same realm as them. They don't explain anything to us. They just leave it open.
Yeah, exactly. They just mention,
it's like. Here's an unfinished story. You finish it on your own after the show ends.
Yeah, they're like, by the way, don't go up to the tower. There's portals to hell. And then they get to the tower, and then there's just a chalice. And you're like, oh, I thought I was going to see some like cool shit. And they're like, nah.
And nobody went through a portal, nothing. Like, I don't know what's going on. The only
reason some like cool apparitions and like people dealt with like their past traumas.
The only reason I gave it a 7.5 is because it had a lot of action. There's a lot of magic, which is what we wanted from the show. There's an expectation. But I thought I was being a little generous because I was so excited to actually get a show or an episode that I actually sat and watched through it and not fall asleep.
I was going to say, did you fall asleep?
No, I did not.
So, okay, I think we should state this. When we score things, and I'm assuming we're not scoring things on like a scale of like, oh, well, this show got this number. This show got this number.
Yeah.
It's just like the general like progression of the episodes and how they get better or worse. So like when it starts, if I give it a low score, that means just like immediately I'm not impressed. And then if I go up, like if like the next episode, there's a bunch of fight scenes, the Kit doesn't talk, and they show the bad guys, I'll probably give it an 8 or 9. But in no way am I saying that it is on par with another show that I've given an 8 or 9 to. I'm just saying within the context of this TV show, this is a mediocre 5 out of 10 because all the other ones were way worse.
I think also it's good to point out that we go episodic and we give our reviews on that specific episode. That doesn't mean that we're giving the entire show that score.
By the end of this, if this kind of stays at this progression, I'll probably give the entire series like a 3.
Yeah. So at the end of all of this, we're going to give our final take and our final score of the entirety of the show. That's going to be our final score. I think a lot also is like critics go by their their own methods. They have their own educated method that they want to use. They're journalists, so they're above all of us who are nobodies. They went to school and they know everything, how to critique and everything. We are just fans of content, and all I can do is sit down, turn on the show, and see if I enjoyed it or not. And if I happen to have a good day and that plays a factor in me enjoying the show, so be it. Right? I sometimes when you sit there and you're bored and you don't like it or you're not paying 100% attention to it, that's why, and you don't give a good score. That's why I always go back and try to watch it again. I'm like, okay, I was distracted the first time around. I had some things to do, somebody called me or texted me. I'm going to watch it again and see, did I miss anything or am I rating this show, not the way it should be rated? So I watched it the second time around. I watched the second half of it again because I wanted to pay attention to some of the stuff. And there were some things I didn't like. Like, I'm getting annoyed by Mr. Willow here because he seems to have power when it's needed, but then complains about him not having power afterwards.
Yeah.
And then immediately does a rollover and strikes this guy into hell or something. Like, what is going on with this dude? Like, does he have issues? Like, what's going on?
Can't perform an exorcism when the guy's chained down, but he can't throw him against the wall and break his back. No.
Yeah, but that's also that's the show's job. Like, if we live in a time where we have a bajillion things screaming at us, and we have access to anything we ever want at our fingertips. So if I'm going to sit down and give a TV show time that I'm sitting in front of my TV, that means like a lot because I'm like most Disney Plus shows, I would say all I watch on my TV. Everything else that all other content is on my second screen while I'm doing other things. So if I'm sitting down and I'm eating lunch or breakfast or whatever and watching this show and I'm missing things or I'm not paying attention, that's the show's fault. Because I'm already giving it me sitting in front of a TV on a couch. And then if I missed a tiny plot point because I was chewing, then like they didn't grab my attention enough or preempt me to be like, this is important, you should pay attention to this, by like having some character be like, wait, you don't mean this place. Oh, I do. This actually is this. Oh, I've heard of that. It's like, okay, I'll stop. Huh? What? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Willow dude was spitting off places and magic spells and this and that out of woodwork, like as if as fans are supposed to know where this place is.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far to say that we're fans. We're just watching the show.
I'm just saying, like, why are you spitting off a name of this thing or a name of that thing? Like, I don't know who these people are and where these places are. You might as well not even talk about them because it doesn't make a difference to me.
They're already assuming that they're like, oh, you read the screenplay, right? You know all the asides for this.
Yeah,
it's like I've watched the movie. I've done literally everything that there is.
The Wicked Witch in the cave from the northern hemisphere of this part of the Shire. Like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Like, seriously, I don't know what you're talking about.
The movie came out over 30 years ago, so like they also have to assume. I get pissed at shows for assuming that we're stupid, and that is horrible writing. When it assumes the audience is dumb and over-explains things, which Disney always has a problem with. It annoys me and I turn off immediately because I'm just like, fuck you. Like, I'm not an idiot. I know.
Well, you look at it this way. I look at it from like, they think that we have read the lore prior to turning this on.
No, I'm saying this show needs to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. What I'm saying is you're looking at it from
doing the opposite.
You're looking at it from an insulting point of view, which is fine. I understand that point. When I watch this thing and I look at when they do this stupid stuff, I'm like, I look at it like, did you think that I was a big enough fan where I went and bought your audiobook before turning this on? Is that what you think it is? Because when you're spitting out these places and names, I don't look at it as an insult to me. I look at it as, what are you thinking I'm tuning in for? Like, am I a massive fan? Your job, if you're rebooting this thing, which is what it is, it's a reboot. Your job is to pull in new fans with this thing.
Yeah.
So why are you spitting out shit that I don't even know what you're talking about? You need to educate me on who this person is. Do a backstory, a flashback. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Don't just spit out a location or a name. Do some service to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I've watched the movie and I've watched like
and you still
5
like
or
what
6.
the fuck?
No, I've watched like 5 or 6 like, oh, here's all the things you need to know before watching the Willow TV show. Like I've done research and I still don't know what the fuck is going on.
That's a problem.
Like, I get mad at Disney for over explaining things and assuming the audience is dumb. This show just doesn't care about its audience and goes like, oh, well, I'm going to say a bunch of cool things and then we're going to move on. This is like, I want to know. I want to be invested. I want for you to make me care about this, but like, you don't even care about this. You're just saying, all right, in the screenplay of the movie, they said this place exists. So we're going to say that. And then they're going to go to this other forest that they say on page 57. Anyway, what's the forest like? I don't know. There's some fucking gym teachers in there. Anyway, they're gonna die, so we're gonna go to another thing. It's like I want to know why that those are important.
Yeah, there has to be a fine line that you walk as a writer and a director and a producer. Like you got to know, like, okay, I don't want to over explain, but I don't want to not explain.
Sure.
So and good writers can do that. Right? Mm-hmm. They can find that sweet spot, and that's what makes a show great. Is enough is there for the casual viewer to understand, and also not to piss off the hardcore fans of the lore.
Well, and Disney knows what this looks like because they've done it with a lot of Star Wars things, especially with like, you know, Book of Boba Fett or anything like that, where they've sprinkled in supplementary characters and storylines where they've referenced things that aren't necessary to the plot, but then give you like oh, cool, what's that? Oh, by the way, we have this entire fucking cartoon show that is all about this character. Like when they bring in Ahsoka for 2 episodes, like the casual viewer might not know who that is, or they bring in,
Cad Bane.
Cad Bane, or like exactly like they bring in these things that are just like, yeah, here's a cool guy, and you're like, that guy's really cool. They're like, by the way, there's 40 episodes in this show that this guy's in. You're like, cool, now I got more. And this show's just like, they're in a forest. It's weird. Anyway. Like,
it's a magical forest, but you know what? We can't tell you anything about it because we don't want to tell you
secret
about it.
So I looked into, like, very quickly into the main writer and one of the executive producers, Wendy Miracle. Mericle. Looks like, I think I pronounced it Miracle, something like that.
Sure.
Okay.
But do you know what other
miracle for this show to get good? But
yeah.
Haven't they done like The Bachelor or
close? She did Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
And Arrow.
Trash TV.
Wait, what? The writers from Desperate Housewives?
She did Desperate Housewives and Arrow.
Oh, Arrow.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. I'll give her. Okay. She did Arrow. Okay.
Arrow's shit.
Arrow was good the first 2 seasons.
Yes.
And then it went straight downhill.
That's what I but that's also what I've heard from like fans of the show. They were like, first 2 seasons are great, and then don't even bother.
A steady decline, baby.
Yeah. Then the budget just went out the window.
Yeah.
I'll quickly take a look and see if she started during the 3rd season.
Quickly to talk about the Rings of Power thing. I voted on Monday on our A&R Weekly show, 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. For those of you who don't know, me and Dee, we did our top movies and TV shows and our worst movies and TV shows. I picked Rings of Power as the worst TV show because Nathan, you are right. I did read the I can't even say it. The Silmarillions.
Silmarillions. It's really tricky.
You know, those mobsters from Italy, the Sicilians, whatever, right?
Middle Earth.
So I read that. Yeah, and I have the audiobook. So I love, by the way, audiobooks are the greatest thing in the world for people who like want to read books. Because I read books, and because I'm getting old, after 5 pages, my eyes get really heavy, and I kind of go like that. So I can't read books now. It just makes me go to sleep.
Well, quick interjection. You guys want to know what season
Yeah,
that
go
Wendy
ahead.
started
3.
in for Arrow?
I'm gonna go 5 and 6.
She started season 4, and she was a writer till season 7.
That explains everything.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
That sounds pretty close. 5 and 6. Yeah, that's exactly where I thought that's the diving end right there. This is the time to jump off out of this thing. Yeah, that show was just, it was doing great. It had a lot of Arrow. Like, I love Green Arrow as a DC character because he reminds me of Robin Hood, obviously.
Mhm.
So the first 2 seasons, it got you going. It's very mysterious killings. It is very, very secretive, and it kept you guessing. And that's where you get hooked and you binge. I binged hard.
Was that Netflix?
No, that was WC. Sorry, CW.
Oh, right. It was CW.
It was CW.
Yeah.
Then it went up to Netflix afterwards.
Yeah, it was all filmed in Vancouver. It was all shot in Vancouver.
Yeah. Stephen Amell, great actor, by the way. No negativity about him. He was a great actor. He was a professional through and through, and he ushered in the Arrowverse, they want to call it, where if the Flash, if it wasn't for the success of this, Flash wouldn't have been on.
Yep.
Right. So he spawned Flash. He spawned Justice. What's it called?
Days of Tomorrow.
No. The time traveling thing, whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing of tomorrow. DC Days of Tomorrow, something like that.
Something like that. And then it also had
Legends of Tomorrow.
Black Bolt, is it? Black Bolt? No, not Black Bolt. I can't remember.
Did
Black Lightning? Sorry, Black Lightning also spawned off that too. Supergirl spawned off that.
Supergirl's trash.
Yeah, that was horrible. Horrible.
Did the what's his name? Green Fist or whatever.
Green Fist? Iron Fist? That's Marvel.
Iron Fist.
That's Marvel.
Oh, that's Marvel, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Marvel.
Yeah.
That's Netflix. That was Daredevil, Jessica.
Right. Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and dude in the yellow shirt.
The Punisher?
No, the yellow shirt. Punisher was also in there. He was in the Daredevil spinoff.
Yeah.
What's the name?
I was
Cage.
really happy when I saw
Cage. Something Cage.
Luke Cage.
Oh, yeah,
There it is. Yeah.
I was really happy when I saw Maddock in the Spider-Man movie. And Murdoch. Yeah. When he showed up,
Charlie Cox. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, good. He's still working because like that show was so fucking good.
Oh,
and when he like showed
so
up as
brutal.
the lawyer,
so brutal.
Oh yeah,
when
he showed up as the lawyer in that,
I was like,
I was excited for that.
Well, there's rumors that they're gonna bring back every single one of those guys in some capacity from the
Netflix. Well, now that they've done it with,
but people are not happy
Tobey
with
Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Spider-Man stuff. Like now they're especially with all the multiverse stuff with Marvel stuff, they're just like, any actor that played a Marvel character that people liked, we have full license to do whatever the fuck we want and bring them back.
I do have some breaking news just a couple hours ago.
Ooh.
I'm torn here. I'm actually sad, but I'm excited at the same time. So I don't know what to think. It's really gonna bother me for the next couple of days to see what it is. So news came out that James Gunn just came out on Twitter and said they are rebooting the entire DC universe, which means Henry Cavill will no longer be Superman. It was just announced before James Gunn took over.
But I thought he was returning back for it.
That's why Henry
Cavill, I saw he tweeted out that.
So Henry Cavill did say that prior to James Gunn fully taking over, there was an agreement to bring him back, and he said yes. So that is true. He was supposed to come back, but James Gunn said they just couldn't do it. They said it was too much to fix to get the ship going in the right direction, and they just have to do it clean. They have to wipe everything. So nobody is returning back unless it's an alt universe down the road. He said never say never. Like, even Henry Cavill said never say never. I might return as Superman down the road in some capacity, but as of now, there is no more Henry Cavill as Superman, no more Ben Affleck, no more The Rock as Black Adam. All of it's gone. Aquaman, all of it's gone right now. Even Wonder Woman, everything's gone.
Yeah.
So
that The Rock
It's-
is pissed.
Oh,
He's like, I
100%
spent
he's
so
pissed
much
because he
money
worked his-
fighting for this.
Yeah, he worked his ass
But
off to
they've
get
done
Henry
this
Cavill.
multiple times. They keep trying to compete, and they keep failing, and then going, okay, we're gonna do it good this time.
The
and then they
problem
come up with
was-
one good one, and then they
And
come up with two shitty ones, and they go, okay, this time we're gonna do.
but here's the thing, though. This time, I think they will do it, and why I have more faith in this time. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still upset about what happened right now.
Yeah,
Because Henry Cavill was my Superman. I love
he's
this guy.
great Superman.
He's the
Absolutely.
modern day Superman. I mean, the greatest Superman is Christopher Reeves for me, right? So he is the modern day Superman for me. So
That
I am
fucking horse.
I am upset about it. But if there's anybody, I have always believed in James Gunn years ago.
Sure.
If you go back to our shows, 30, 40 episodes, even 50 episodes, I was saying if there was one person that I wanted to run DC, it was James Gunn. Because I know this guy is smart. I know he's very, very, he has a very crazy imaginative imagination.
He made
and I
people
think-
care about Guardians of the Galaxy.
And nobody thought in the world that they would. Who would care about
they
a
were
raccoon?
Like, oh, we're gonna
and a
bring
tree?"
out Guardians of the Galaxy, and everyone was like, "Fucking good luck."
Yeah, they're like, okay,
You're gonna bring a raccoon and have people care about that.
Time. And
Oh,
it became
you're
one of the
gonna
most
get-
successful franchises.
Yeah, you're
Marvel
gonna
has.
get Vin Diesel to play a tree that has one line. Okay, yeah, sure, and it's like everyone.
I said
fucking
that
loves
too.
Groot.
I said, I'm like,
yeah, no, I'm saying
I'm like
everyone
Guardians
said that.
who?
Yeah.
Who? I'm like, okay.
And they
we
got
the
Chris
Guardians.
Pratt, and at the time, before he
He
worked
was-
out and got into the shape of Star
He
Wars,
was chubby fat.
he was the
yeah.
guy
Parks and
from
Rec.
Parks. Yeah,
He was the
chubby Parks and
funny
Rec
kind
guy.
of like whatever dude from Parks and Rec, and now
Yeah.
he's like GQ's sexiest man.
Yeah,
Funny how that
Like,
works.
straight up. So
But,
yeah, like,
I mean, so James Gunn has said that no, we're gonna start fresh, clean, and another reason why I believe in this more is because I never liked Zack Snyder's method of filming. I never liked that take. I
Yeah.
don't like that look because it's too dark and grimy and gray, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
work for every character in DC because it doesn't work for comic book characters except for maybe Batman, where you can have that rainy gray Gotham, right? But you
Well,
have
and-
all these other colorful characters. How is that going to work in that
now
environment?
now is this going to be bringing in the
No, Patterson's not coming in.
fuck?
Oh, that's a shame.
I
No.
loved that Batman.
But the reason why James Gunn said he's not coming in is because Reeves has asked to be a standalone trilogy. He does not want it to be involved at all. So
Oh,
they're going to
okay.
respect his wishes and say, okay, you do your thing, and when you're done, right?
So they're gonna do the
Complete
Joaquin
white.
Phoenix and
yeah,
Patterson,
because they're already
Batman stuff.
filmed or in they already paid them out. to do
Okay,
it.
well that's good
Yeah.
because that and you know what? I don't want DC to do a Marvel because like
No.
it's bloated as fuck. And like Marvel had huge success with their MCU. I mean, MCU is a term on its own. Like
Yeah.
it was so successful that now everyone, like if you say MCU, everyone knows what that means.
Immediately, yeah. It's not a comic book. It's not a show. It's a movie
No.
right away.
And so everyone's obviously trying to regurgitate that and trying to mimic the success of that. And DC has been trying to do that for years
The
and
problem with-
failing.
They rushed
Yeah.
it. They rushed it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
Well, that's the
exactly. Yeah.
Listen,
They-
I just
that's
hear.
Yeah, and they keep trying to just do the same thing that Marvel's doing because they're like, that makes money, that's success. I think having small pockets of different creators, just going like, here's 3 movies that then turn into and all kind of converge into a final movie, and just doing like little 3 movie, 2 movie things of just like, here's a cool story, here's another cool story, here's one where they collide, and then just be like, all right, next thing, we're gonna get a new actor to do it. I love that. The fact, like when Joker came out, the Joaquin Phoenix one, that was such a breath of fresh air for like comic book, whatever, fantasy movies.
Yeah.
And it was like a DC-ized where it's like, oh, it's real world, it's dark and gritty, but also it was an allegory for mental health issues and like public relation to that. So it was
Yeah.
like, you're not trying to do this fantasy world of comic book superheroes and people with amazing powers and from other worlds and shit. And they're just like, here's a guy who's got mental health issues and fuck. and you're like, okay, shit.
Yeah.
And then the Pattinson movie too. It was like a cop thriller. It was just like a whodunit,
detective noir. Yeah,
detective noir thing. Exactly.
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
modernized detective noir film, and it was beautiful. And now that those two, even though they are different genres, when there were rumors and then announcements that they're like, oh, we're gonna do one with Joaquin Phoenix and Robert Pattinson, you're like, that makes sense. That'll be fucking sick. And if they just do one movie where they converge and do that, and then they fuck off to another thing, that'll be awesome. Because then it also doesn't dilute the piece of art that those three movies then make. And if then they go to do some other thing and they're like, all right, now we're gonna get, I don't know, Jimmy Smits to fucking play Batman. You're like, okay. But it doesn't take away from those three movies as a piece, because it's a different thing.
I think,
like Marvel kind of does that with their alternate universe thing, where they can
the
biggest that.
The biggest issue with DC was they didn't have a game plan.
Yeah,
everyone they just threw shit that stuck. If it sticks to the wall, great. Let it stick to the wall. We'll just take money at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and it was all up at the top of the food chain is where the problem was, because it was just about money. It wasn't about longevity. They weren't thinking down the road. They were just thinking what this year is going to bring, what next year is going to bring for our, our investors, our shareholders. That's all they were thinking about. And that's where the problems was, because you had all these directors who wanted to go different ways for these characters, and none of it worked in a synergy kind of thing, right? And that's where it just started collapsing on itself, because they try to mimic Marvel, but how are you going to mimic Marvel when you don't even have a game plan in place? Kevin Feige has a game plan and had a game plan from day one, and he's following that game plan. So DC didn't have that. With James Gunn, he recognized here, it's like, hey, I spent 6 months here looking into this. It's not going to work. I can't fix this thing. It's already a sinking ship. So we got to wipe it all out, and I'm going to do it this way. And then they had Superman on the sideline for the longest time. The last time we had a Superman movie was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, actually.
So how do you have the biggest name in your category? Because, I mean, Batman's big too, but let's not kid ourselves. You ask anywhere in the world who Superman is, people know who it is. How do you have the biggest guy in your team? That's like your number one quarterback, your star player sitting on the bench for the biggest game.
Yeah,
all the time. Right? Like, how do you have that in Canadians? Your best hockey player, Wayne Gretzky, sitting on the bench.
Hey, don't shit on the CFL.
Your best hockey player, Michael Jordan, is sitting on the bench for the championship final. You don't do that, people. And that's what the problem was.
Now I'm just imagining Michael Jordan playing hockey.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan for our American viewers. Pele for our Brazilian viewers. Soccer player. There you go. England people will recognize that. Football. No, sorry, soccer. But that's what I'm saying. That's why I have more belief in this. I am scared, obviously, because that's a big thing. And what he said, right, the first movie is going to be Superman at a younger age. And it's not a reboot, he said. It's not a reboot of Superman, but it's Superman at a younger age. And that's where they're going to start their starting point for this DC thing. Let's see what happens. We'll see.
I don't care about that, though.
But that you don't care about it, but a lot of people around the world might care about it.
Yeah, but we already had Smallville.
Well, let's see. Let's see what's going on here.
A reboot.
Yeah, but
he didn't say it's a reboot. He says not a reboot. It's not like he's in. He didn't specify what age the Superman is.
Oh, okay.
So we don't know. It could be his first year in the Daily Planet.
Getting hired at the Bugle.
Yeah, Daily Planet.
Planet, whatever.
Yeah, Bugle Spider-Man.
yeah, whatever. And then
speaking of Spider-Man, did you guys see the trailer for Into the Spider-Verse?
No.
It just dropped today as well, Into the Spider-Verse, and there's a lot of Spider-Mans in there. There's more
no, I did see that.
More than 50 of them.
I saw a lot of references.
Yeah. So my youngest son is stoked.
Didn't Edgar Wright? He was slated to direct a Star Wars thing, right? I remember Edgar Wright was in the midst. It was something with Disney.
Nathan, did you want to add anything? We just ramble on, never let Nathan talk.
No worries. No, I was thinking about it. I'm very glad that DC is redoing things. They didn't come in with a game plan, like a long-term game plan. It was all short-term.
Oh yeah,
We're
definitely.
gonna as soon as
Like, how do you not
possible
have Green
introduce-
Lantern in your movies? Like, what? What?
He had a bad reputation after Ryan Reynolds, but they just tried to rush too quickly into like a Thanos type situation. Here's Darkseid. Here's your big villain, and there's no real big build up for it. We're not going to drop hints throughout all the movies. We're just going to introduce the characters, have a bunch of characters with no introduction yet. You've never seen them before. Just shove them in your face, and they're all going to work together and fight. That was.
Yeah. So go ahead.
There's no there's Batman versus Superman, but there's no or Superman versus Batman, but there's no standalone Batman movie. It's just Batman when he's older, and I'll be honest, I hated Ben Batman.
Me too.
What's it
I
called?
don't hate Ben Affleck. I just hated
I hated
the
him
idea of
as
Batman being way older than the rest of the crew.
I liked like 10 clips from the Ben Affleck Batman movie, and like they were so badass.
Yeah,
I hated the movie.
But Batman, like one of the things I hated about
bunch
Zack
of
Snyder,
really cool clips.
One of the things I hated about Zack Snyder's vision of Batman was Batman doesn't kill, and there's a reason.
Yeah.
Batman doesn't take machine guns out of his Batmobile and blow up things and kill people.
Yeah,
and that's the whole idea of Batman is not to kill; it's to put people in jail, and that's the justice that he wants to give. Right? That's the whole premise behind it.
Yeah, that was really good.
Sorry, is justice.
So it just shows the lack of respect they had for some of these characters, right? And even Superman, he killed Zod. He broke his neck, snapped it. He doesn't do that. And even in the Christopher Reeves era, Zod and them were put in the Phantom Zone forever to be punished, right? He never kills. So that's I really did not like Zack Snyder's vision of that. And people are like, oh, come on, get with the times, this and that. But
yeah, murder's okay now, Elvin. Come on.
Yeah, you should be okay with this. Come on.
That's why
Netflix dropped a murder show every week, right? So
that's one reason why Superman's a pretty good character. Like, even though he's like overpowered as hell, but the idea of he's this guy that won't actually kill. He'll do what he thinks is right. But if his power is his strength and all that, but if you can influence his mind, which happens often, then he becomes a danger to everyone. And so it's this interesting thing. But if you don't have that aspect of him having that super strict moral code, he's just like, you know what? You're a threat.
Yeah.
Then
the animation of DC Studios, the animation section, they've been killing it for over 20 years. They have just been killing it for 20 years. And I couldn't believe they wouldn't just go get writers from there and plot them over to the movie side. And that's because the leaders at the top were inept. They didn't know what they're doing because they didn't give a shit. Was it Walter Hamada? He was the worst of the worst people in charge of DC. This guy wanted Batgirl to be the front and center and Supergirl to be front and center instead of Batman and Superman. What are you doing? There's no offense to anybody who likes Batman and Batgirl and Supergirl. Those two are not going to carry your mantle. I'm sorry. You're not going to flood the theaters with those two characters. It's not happening. Sorry.
Like, Supergirl's always been a weak written character to begin with. Batgirl's got some like cool shit and like.
No, but you introduce them into the family of the main characters first. You get your holy trinity in order. Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. Get them in order, and then you flow from them to the rest of the characters in DC.
Yeah, then you get Nightwing, then you get Robin.
You build it up. You build it up, and then you have strength there now.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Marvel was good with that because they started with Captain America, Iron Man. The Hulk didn't count because even though that was still canon, that was like different actors.
The Thor was there. Yeah, they built the
there.
Avengers out from the 5, Hawkeye and Black Widow. They built them from those 5 out.
Yeah.
Right? And that made it more strong when you had characters like Falcon show up. When you had all these other lesser known characters show up. Yeah, Winter Soldier, all these
and so and Ant-Man. Ant-Man was the movie that I was thinking.
Yeah, nobody cared about Ant-Man.
No, but
before Ant-Man was even around, nobody cared about reading Ant-Man.
No, Edgar Wright was the original director on Ant-Man,
And I thought he did a good job.
No. Then he backed out.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Edgar Wright. He's one of my favorite directors.
Oh, okay. Well, I give him credit for no reason then.
No. He's phenomenal, amazing director. And
I thought he did it. I thought he did. Okay, never mind.
No. So Edgar Wright originally was one of the directors of, or not one of the directors, was the director of the first Ant-Man. And then he backed out just because he couldn't agree with Disney. And he's a very
But see, hold on here a second. That's because Kevin Feige had a vision. It's like, no, you're not the right guy. Because Edgar Wright, I bet you went in there and said, I want to do it this way. And
absolutely.
He said, and Kevin Feige said, no, fuck you. You're not doing it this way. You're doing it our way. And that's what you need at the helm.
Yeah.
You have a vision, stick to your vision.
And to his credit too, like when Edgar Wright was announced as the director for Ant-Man, I was like, oh, cool, this will be a good movie then. And then it was like, oh, he backed out after a month, or sorry, after like half a year or a year
creative
of being
difference
on the project,
probably, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay, this movie's gonna be shit then. But it is like Edgar Wright's very much a very stylized director, and like when he directs something, you can tell that's an Edgar Wright movie, like the Cornetto trilogy. So like, you know, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. And
so I bet you
all
he
those.
tried to make it more scary, the ants and all that stuff.
No, he has and this is I think why they originally got him, was because he's really good at doing comedy horror, and like still having suspense and still having fear, but also having a lightheartedness without it being corny. And I think for Ant-Man, or for really any Marvel kind of show, like Edgar Wright seems like a shoe-in. Like that's a guy who knows.
He would have been a good Scarlet Witch movie he could have done.
Maybe, yeah. What it's also too, his movies have, I think, a little too much style. Like, have you watched Baby Driver?
Yeah, I love that movie.
That's Edgar
I love
Wright.
that movie. Yeah,
that's Edgar Wright going, hey, you know that scene from Shaun of the Dead where they beat the zombie to the beat of "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen? I want to do a whole movie like that, and the whole movie is essentially a musical. Like everything is to a beat. Everything, like the lyrics of songs are on graffiti in the background. There's like so many like a million like little Easter eggs in the background, but it's all to the soundtrack of it, and everything's to a click pretty much. But like someone like him going into the MCU, I can see like immediately, like now obviously in retrospect, Ant-Man was great, and I think it might have been better. Like it didn't blow me away, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is good. Okay. And it worked well with the rest of the MCU, and then he fits in, and they do the whole thing with Paul Rudd coming in randomly into the other movies, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy, okay, cool. But yeah, like that level of planning for something that large, somebody who is kind of like an artistic visionary, then coming in and not being able to be like, okay, yeah, I'll do it this way. Totally makes sense why he was like, oh, fuck you, I'm out of here. I want to do it this way. And Disney and Kevin Feige being like, no, we got this planned out. And that's what DC is trying to do, but they just have a bunch of niche directors being like, no, this is how it should go. And then being like, okay, because they don't have,
they just give the keys to the kingdom right away. Yeah,
they don't have the mouse overlord being like, fuck you, you'll never.
Now they got a
again.
gun instead of a mouse.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like all the Marvel stuff has always had Disney being like, we have all of the lawyers and all of the money, and we have hired all of the best writers and all the best creative directors and all of this to make this project. And DC has just been like, okay, we should try to do that. Okay, well, we'll get Ben Affleck and he'll star and direct it. But then they don't have the mouse being like, fuck you, do it this way.
Yeah. Make sure it's woke dial turned up.
They haven't done that in MCU stuff.
Oh, they've plastered it every single movie in Phase 4 Marvel. Case in point, Black Panther. Oh
yeah.
Oh, I thought Captain Marvel was more like that, wasn't it?
Oh,
Just give a
I didn't
extremely
watch that.
overpowered character.
don't watch Captain Marvel. Don't ever watch Captain Marvel. It is not watchable. It's terrible.
I didn't.
Yeah, thank God. You saved.
They kind of
yourself
got
2
rid of
hours.
her. Like she's still part of the MCU. I know
Yeah.
she's still
Didn't she
there,
get
but
beheaded?
you're like, oh, she's off.
What? No.
She's now like her excuse is like there's always
Oh,
like
no,
a
she
Thanos
beheaded
type event
somebody,
all
right.
the time, and so she's just like dealing with it everywhere else. Which sounds kind of stupid to me. I don't really like it.
Well, she had
really?
demands in doing contract negotiations. She said she wants to be the leader of the next phase. She wants to be the one true leader of the
I don't
entire
think they're gonna do
Avengers.
that.
She was never a leader in Avengers, unless it was her own story arc. Nobody cares about Captain Marvel. Nobody does.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares about that character. Even to this day, people still don't care about that comic book and that character. So, I mean, I do. I have a figure of her. I love Captain Marvel because I'm a comic nerd.
What's her name? Ms. Marvel? Like the show for that?
No, Ms. Marvel
Even,
came afterwards.
I know, but even the actress for that, when she was asked to name all the Avengers, forgot Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, she's actually pretty smart. The actress that plays in that movie show, she's actually very smart. She knows her stuff because they asked her about the 616, and she's like, "No, this isn't the 616. The MCU is not the 616. The comic book universe is the 616." She knows her stuff. She's not an idiot, and she is an actual comic nerd, right? The character doesn't do anything for me. It's not for me. It's for younger crowds.
Oh yeah.
So,
I'm just pointing out that even Captain Marvel is forgotten by someone like that.
By her peers.
I was going to ask you guys, because I asked D. I want to put you guys on the spot right now. What's your best and worst movie and TV show of 2022?
Did Kenobi come out this year?
I can give you mine so you have time to think. My favorite movie of 2022. You don't have to pick 5. Just pick a couple if you want from each category. But my runner-up for top movie was Everything Always. Was it Everything Always Everywhere?
Oh, yeah.
That was my runner-up for best movie of 2022. My favorite movie of 2022 was Top Gun. That was my favorite movie of 2022. Another runner-up was Batman. Obviously, that was a great movie too. People forget that it came out in 2022.
I was going to say that came out in 2022.
Yeah, yes, it did. Yes, it did. That came out in March. It came out on my birthday, the day of my birthday. So yeah. My favorite TV show for this year. No, it's not Andor, Justin.
Not with the rankings he gave it. No,
it was House of Dragons.
Still haven't watched that yet.
Oh my god! Well, that's not your thing, right? You don't like that stuff, right?
Oh, I watched all of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I didn't watch. Okay, no. There's a caveat on that. I didn't watch Game of Thrones. How many seasons of Game of Thrones were there? 7?
8.
7 or 8? Yeah.
I didn't start watching Game of Thrones till I'm going to say season 5.
Okay. I cannot believe that because it's hard to.
It was probably, I think it was like a lot of the people that I heard talk about it constantly, I fucking hated. So then I was just like, whatever, I don't give a shit.
Fair enough.
And then I started watching it with, I moved into a new place, and me and the guy that I moved in with, he liked it. And then he was like, have you seen it? And I was like, no, actually, I haven't seen any of it yet. And he was like, oh, I'm going to start over. And we just watched 3 seasons in a weekend.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh shit. Okay. This show fucks.
Well, that don't count because the first 5 seasons.
Yeah. So then.
No, he doesn't mean he started at season 5. He didn't get into it till season 5 started.
Yeah,
That's what he needs.
It was like the end of season 5, and that's like when that was airing. That's when I started.
Yeah,
from
that's
episode
when
1.
That's when you got introduced to it.
Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, I still need to watch it.
I 100% agree with her statement. The last 2 seasons sucked. They absolutely did. The reason why it sucked, here's the thing: those two, the writer and the director, were already given to do. I believe it was Star Wars. Oh, I don't remember what it was. They were given a big IP, and they said, "Oh, okay, let's end this thing as soon as possible so we can go to our next project." And they screwed it up really badly.
They're just like, whatever. I've got an intern who can.
Oh
finish
yeah.
the
They rushed into this thing, and it was really bad.
Also, hello to my girlfriend for showing up and commenting.
Oh, hello. Yeah. Okay. She says, okay. Yeah, this is where you get to know your significant other here.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was my favorite TV show.
Yeah.
Runner up is Rick and Morty for me. So,
I haven't seen that yet either.
Yeah, Rick and Morty had their Christmas special the other day. So that's my runner up. Worst TV show. I already thought I told you guys about this, right? Did I mention to you guys? Rings of Power. Remember I said? Yeah. Rings of Power is my worst TV show. Runner up was Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan was bad, and also Andor. Those are my runner ups.
Sure.
For my worst movie of 2022, which one was it? I had a couple. I want to say Thor: Love and Thunder was there.
Sure.
And now I forget. Old age, but you can always go back to our last podcast, episode 98, and find out what my worst movie was. But yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder was there on that list. Yeah. What about you guys?
Nathan, you go first.
Ooh, that's tricky.
Too late.
Okay, so I'll start with worst TV show. I'm gonna go with the Kenobi show as the worst.
That is ballsy for you.
And the reason why
that's gonna sting a little bit for you, doesn't it?
It does. The reason why it's the
Just
worst
a
is
little
because
bit.
I had high expectations for that, and that is kind of unfair.
Of course,
high expectations.
Of course, you had high expectations.
But I was
the jacket, damn it.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that for so long, and it was just I was holding out the whole series. I was like, it might get better the next episode, maybe the next one, and it just kept disappointing. And even the last episode, where people are like, "Oh, when you had the fight with Vader, that was great." The fight was okay, but like at the end of the day, they just ripped off. Like he ripped off the moment where the mask was gone from Rebels. They ripped off a lot of stuff from different things. The kid underneath the cloak walking through the main hangar was ridiculous. There's just being more powerful than Obi-Wan's ever been before with the Force was just crazy. So that's the worst. Elvin, sorry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, sorry, my memory has been jogged now. My worst movie of 2022 was Jurassic World Dominion.
Really?
That was a dump. It was in the summer, yeah. It was a complete dumpster of a fire movie. You know it's bad when your youngest kid goes, "Dad, can we go home now?" Halfway through the movie. And kids and their dinosaurs, they love it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I was like, yeah, I feel you, son, but we still got another hour of this pain to go through. Because I paid a lot of money and Daddy's going to sit here and take a nap. So, yeah, that was another horrible movie. Wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. But I was very disappointed with it because I'm a huge fan of this genre in the gaming world. Uncharted. Oh
yeah.
Tom Holland should not have been Drake. No way.
Fully agree.
Nobody expected that to be good.
Oh.
Nathan Fillion should have been the role, even though I know he's too old.
Yeah.
He is Nathan Drake.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it should have been Nathan Drake after the video games, and he does one last heist. That would have been fucking sick. You still get Tom Holland in it. You could still get Marky Mark in there.
And they shouldn't have done something just completely over the edge. Like, I don't know about you guys, but the scene with the helicopters and the pirate ship, Didn't know. Just no.
I took my wife to watch this movie because I'm like, she loves this treasure. She loves all that kind of genre. Like she loves the adventure stuff, right?
Mhm.
She loves puzzle solving and mysteries. So I wanted to take her because I'm like, I was so geeking out about this. I'm like, you don't understand. I love this game. I love this whole thing. Like I love all of it. And I go, it's like Indiana Jones meets Tomb Raider. I go, you got to watch this thing, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I like Tomb Raider. I like Indiana Jones. Okay, let's go watch it. And she walked out of the theater and she's like, this is what you were hyped about? I'm like, no, you gotta understand.
I don't want to talk about it.
This is not what it is, dear.
This
I
was
swear.
your idea.
She's like, you told me this is gonna be a great movie, and it's not. I'm like, listen, this is not what I thought it was gonna be. Really, the games are totally different from this. One more thing that I forgot to add onto my top movies runner-up was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. My kids loved it, and Jim Carrey rules. He did a great job twirling his mustache. So yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Nathan.
No worries.
I'm done.
So Rings of Power. The reason why that's a runner-up. The reason why that's not
runner-up, okay,
at the same level as Kenobi is because I went into that fully expecting to hate it, and I did. But that's just because I didn't like how they did all the advertising for it.
Hold on. Can you guys hear the alarm that's going off beside my house or no? All right, then I will leave it.
No. But yeah, I didn't like all the advertising for it. Them claiming, this is better than what Tolkien can do. Them having the fake Tolkien fans, where they got a couple influencers with like a few thousand followers on social media who not once
so bad.
It was so bad. Not once have they ever talked about Lord of the Rings. Or
that girl? Genre? You know that girl that goes, "That's my girl, Galadriel." Remember her?
Oh yeah.
She went on her Instagram, her live. She went on live halfway through the season, had already gone through, and she said she still hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, I remember that.
She was recorded and it was blasting all over social media. I'm like, hey, that's Amazon, funny. I thought she was a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Like, she hasn't even watched any of your episodes yet. That was bad.
They took down that initial fake fans talk about it thing because it got such negative reviews. It's also, I think, one of the most disliked videos on YouTube. I think it's the most disliked trailer.
Did you also hear what they're doing right now? They might reboot the whole thing.
Well, they're locked in for like 5 seasons, I think. They
have to make 5 seasons, but they don't have to make them.
Yeah. So they can
currently. I'm
happy with that. I didn't hear about that before, but if
what I heard is they fired the 2 writers and they're rebooting it. That's what I heard. I don't know anything else. I haven't heard if it's actually legit from Amazon. Nothing yet concrete.
Fingers crossed. That would be great.
Anyways, honestly, what else? What else you got?
For the best thing, funny enough, we haven't talked about, like I mentioned it before in the show, but I haven't talked about it on Popcorn Chicken, like done an episode. Stranger Things.
Hey, you know what? How did I miss that? Oh my god!
Stranger Things. I don't usually watch it.
Didn't it come out in November?
No.
Part 2 didn't, at least.
Okay, that's where I'm at. Yeah, sorry.
So I think that ties it in at like it might be a stretch, but
it's sort of a continuation.
It's a part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
So I like that. I think
I like it too, but I'm saying, does that count as a 2022 show?
Because it happened in July. It was like this summer it happened. Part 1 and part 2. Both. It was just released a couple weeks apart.
Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about that show.
So it happened. Yeah, it's one of those things where I watched the first season and that's it.
Me too.
And it's not like I disliked it. It was good. It's just
it was good.
I just didn't get why everyone gave a shit about it.
Yeah,
that was like I watched the first season of
part 1. By the way, was better than part 2.
Okay, but I should say
of the recent season, thing? The split, the recent season.
Yeah,
part 1 was better than part 2, in my opinion.
Sure, absolutely, but I think it was still they still went well together, and it didn't get worse.
Yeah. No,
I agree, Elvin, but that's just because I think the build up for the finale wasn't disappointing. It was good. It's just the build up was just so well done.
Yeah,
for Stranger Things. But Stranger Things had that, they give us the whole build up and then the big cliffhanger, and then instead of having to wait a year to see what the finale is, You just have to wait a couple weeks. All the theories come out. The hype is so high up there, and then they hit you with a couple big episodes. One of them I think was like 2 hours. And Disney doesn't do that. They do like weekly, and then on TV shows, on cable, it's they'll show you the season. Wait, my screen's tiny. What is that? See, holding up a figure.
This is Elektra from Marvel Legends.
Did you just get that?
Yeah, just look at the hair on that. That looks
actually that is pretty good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
When my screen was tiny, because I shrunk it so that way I can look closer to the camera.
Yeah.
I thought it was Medusa because of all the details.
That's what I'm thinking too. When I saw that, I'm like, that looks crazy good.
That is very nice.
Yeah, Elektra in her white outfit. I got this 3-pack with Daredevil, Bullseye. Right,
oh gosh,
Daredevil's enemy. But that Daredevil is.
Let's see Daredevil.
The reason why I bring this up is for anybody's listening. I am doing a top 100 figure countdown of my favorite figure of 2022. I've got a table in the front, and I'm putting all of it on the table, and I'm going through categories. I'm going to be making categories. So Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, they're all going to have their categories, and the winner from each one of those categories will go into my top 10 overall final thing. And I'm going to pick one of them from that 10 as my figure of the year. We're going to be dropping those videos.
And then he's going to be giving them all away.
Saul Guerrero might make an appearance.
Saul Guerrero is up there. Like that
might make an appearance.
Legitimately was an amazing figure.
Yeah, you did a great job of convincing me on that one. He might sneak in there. There might be a trooper or two in there as well.
Nice.
So, yeah. So look out for that. We'll be dropping that video during the holidays.
I have to ask Alvin, have you kind of decided already?
No. It's far from,
never mind.
It's far from being over.
Leave it.
Why were you going to ask me?
I was going to say, is there a specific company that is kind of dominating?
Marvel's always Legends. The Marvel Legends team has always been dominating for years. I am going to pick as a side thing the company of the year. I believe last year I picked NECA as the company of the year.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they made some killer figures last year, so I haven't decided which company. But the crazy thing is, I still have like 6 figures coming in the next week that could make an impact in my top 100. So that's the crazy thing. I have
top 100.
Yeah, top 100. I was just telling him I'm going to pick. I have 10 categories, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of 5 figures, and then one from each one will go to the final 10. I have Constantine from Mezco coming, who's got a cigarette.
Ooh.
Oh, do you actually?
He's the Constantine from the show that we watch.
Oh, I love that.
He's got his trench coat. It's all soft goods. Trench coats. He's got cigarette buds you can have. He's got an undone tie. He's got the trench coat, everything, the works. He's got book. He's on his way right now, and he could sneak in there. He's a damn good-looking figure, so he could sneak in there.
Speaking of Constantine, there's that video that was going around when Keanu Reeves was on Conan of just like, oh, what's a series that you want to do again, or what's a role that you want to go in again? And he was like, I would love to play John Constantine again. He was like, well, we should. And he's like, I fucking tried.
Well, maybe James Gunn might say yes to him. Who knows?
Or Edgar Wright.
I
don't think it would be good.
I like the gentleman that plays Constantine in the TV show.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is,
I like
both portrayals of like the both versions of Constantine I like, but I would like to see a movie with the more comic accurate one, just because I
love that movie.
Kind of
cool Keanu. I still love that Keanu.
Oh yeah,
movie.
Yeah, it's great. But I'd love to see a second one of those, but I'd also love to see a second one based off of the the comics or the animation. It's that character, him using magic, him being his main, in my opinion, his main power is not magic. He's clever. He's able to trick people.
Well, they said there's talks of doing a Dark Justice League, which he would be the basic leader of.
No, wait, no, that's
the Dooku.
No, the Dooku is another thing. That's the Dark Universe cinematic universe. That's like the Mummy.
No. That's Warner Universal Studios.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Oh, what was that? Do you have an
I have
earthquake?
I have a mass. This fell.
What the hell is that?
You're fucked. You're whole.
Oh, you're
yeah.
done now. You're cursed
You've
for
just
another
broken the
7 years.
curse.
Yeah.
It's a mask
Oh.
I got in Nepal.
They call
I
him
had-
Kukuklan.
I had something similar happen the other day. I was on a Skype call with some clients, and something fell, and they're like, "What was that?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing." And they're like, "No, what was that?" And then I was like, "Oh, nothing. It's just the shoulder pauldron for my stormtrooper armor." They're like,
Oh my god. Okay, so anyways, go on with your. We're never gonna get this done here. We keep interfering here, but
that's fine.
your top. What was it? Yours? You finished yours, Nathan?
Top show was Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And for the
Any
movie,
runner-ups?
Runner-ups for shows.
Yeah.
I liked. Okay, I know this was one of the worst for you, but I quite liked Andor.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
sure there are other
I
shows.
know why.
Yeah.
I know why.
I'm sure there are other shows this year that I watched that should be up there. It's just the ones that lasted an impression on me that made me really remember them were Andor and Stranger
No House of
Things.
Dragons at all?
I haven't watched that yet.
Oh my god. What are you two doing?
Well,
No,
I'm
working
honestly
hard. What am I saying? Working hard. That's what you two doing.
Yeah, and also too, I just how I dealt with Game of Thrones before. Like, I just wait till it's all out and then I binge it.
It is all up
Mhm.
now.
It's
Yeah.
one of those
I
things
know
you
that.
wanna
Now
binge.
it's a time constraint, and then now there's Christmas shit and more work stuff. So
It is the busiest
Another
time of
news,
the year.
another bomb that dropped a couple of days ago is Kit Harington, who played Jon Snow in Game of Thrones,
yeah,
is rumored to be doing a sequel that carries his story forward into the cold winds behind the wall.
But he knows
Okay.
nothing.
What? What? He knows nothing.
But he knows nothing.
He knows everything.
You know nothing, Jon
You
Snow.
know nothing, Jon Snow. Yeah, there we
No,
go.
He will know everything.
Oh, okay.
It continues his story because he still doesn't know how his lineage came to be who he is. right?
So he does know nothing.
Yeah.
Wait, does he not know?
No, he
thought
doesn't
they-
know. He knows
I thought
that
they explained it.
he is part of the Targaryen. What's it? The
Targaryen?
Targaryen
Targaryen?
lineage.
I thought they explained it, didn't they?
They explained it to us,
Oh, but he doesn't know.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
but not him. He doesn't know the full details. So they're saying there might be a 5-season show with Kit Harington at the helms of it.
I don't know how
Sure.
good. I remember you, Elvin, pointed out like if you know kind of how like the end event of you have characters and you kind of know what's going to happen at the end of the season already. It's not going to be invested throughout it. For this idea for the show, I kind of agree with that. If I know that he's trying to figure out his past and we already know the past, I'm not going to be too
Yeah.
interested in how he gets
No,
there.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is risky. This
Yeah,
is trying
well,
to milk it. This is trying to milk it.
the only
Mhm.
reason why I gave a shit about Andor to begin with, because I agree to that theory of just like, if I already know how it ends, I'm not going to care. And I went into Rogue One thinking that, and then I was like, oh, this turned out to be a really fucking good movie. And then I was like, okay, if they're going to do Andor and I already know how it ends, well, they already proved me wrong with Rogue One, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and they did, in my opinion. So most of the time I agree with that. If there's no suspense and there's no risk, because or if you're like, oh, I already know how he dies, but then the same could be said with Better Call Saul. Like, you already know how that
Oh
all
man,
ends.
another show that I love, but
That
Oh my
wasn't this
God.
year though, right? That was a couple of
that
years
was
ago.
this year. It ended this year.
Oh, was it this
did.
year? Oh, okay.
It ended
That's a
this
show
year.
I also haven't finished yet. I've
That
watched, I think.
Oh, you haven't
how many
finished it
seasons?
yet.
No, I've been waiting for that.
What season? What
to all
season
end.
are you at?
How many
Oh.
seasons are there?
I believe I want to say 6.
3 or okay. I think I've watched 3.
I want to add on one more show that's really good, that deserves it, that
Hmm.
ended this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
I think it was this year. Peaky Blinders.
I love that show.
That's
a good.
I try to get into that show. I can't do it.
It's just a good, like, it's a trash TV. It's a mob show. Like, it's
Yeah.
just It's just it's The Sopranos, but in like old English. Like that's all
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah,
and it
okay,
does it
gotcha.
so fucking well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not gonna blow and to that same theory or whatever. Ozark too is another good, like, you just want a good, like,
Chefs. That's another great
you
one.
just want a
Oh
good
my
mob
God.
show.
What am I
Yeah.
doing with my life here? Like, seriously, I was so focused in the pop culture small portion that I'm always in,
Mhm.
comic booky, Star Warsy kind of thing, fantasy stuff. I should have pulled back a little bit and look at the other stuff that I watch. I watched all of these shows and I finished all of these shows, and they're all great shows.
Yeah.
But I still think that House of Dragons is still my favorite.
Yeah.
Just because I thought it was going to be boring. I'm like, I don't care about a prequel. I hate prequels, right?
Yeah.
But takes place so many years before that there's no direct connection between the two shows.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I recognize house this, house that, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no character that carries over to this show.
Yeah.
Right. So it took me by and I know it's only one season, but still, holy
But also
shit.
too,
was
to
that
their
good.
credit, they were just like, here's a one season story.
Well, they're still
Yeah.
doing more. They're gonna do
I know
more.
that, but they're like, to contain it at least.
Well, there's a
And-
lot of time jump in this one season.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a lot of stories being covered.
Yeah, like they went from the kids to adults having multiple kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's a huge time jump, but man, it was awesome. That dude that plays Doctor Who, he's in there.
Which Doctor Who?
David
David Tennant?
Matt Smith.
Oh, the weird looking one.
Oh
I like
man,
Matt
he
Smith.
killed.
He was my doctor.
He kills
No, David
it.
Tennant's mine.
He's good. I'll give him that. He's very good. But Matt Smith was the guy that was caring, that cared about like the kids, but
Oh yeah, no,
would
absolutely.
let them die if they were bad kids.
I just think it
That
looks
sounded
weird.
dark.
Anyways, he carried that show as an anti-hero in there, and he
He's in Matt Smith's
House-
in House of Dragons.
Yeah, he's the blonde guy. Well, they're all blonde.
Oh shit! I now he looks better blonde. He doesn't look weird.
He kills it, man. I'm telling you, his performance was amazing in there. He
Cool.
made me watch the show.
Really?
He pulled me in. Every time he's on screen, he's pulling me in because he's an anti-hero in there, and he's just so
I'm
good
excited
at
to
it.
watch it.
He's an asshole, but he's so good as an asshole in there. It's just he's so awesome. I'm like, wow, this guy is awesome in there. But he's not even the main character. That's the cool thing, is like this side character pulls me in.
Yeah.
Right? The guy who plays the king, the dad and the king, he did a phenomenal job of portraying as a king that is torn with his love for his brother, love for his daughter, love for his wife. Like he was torn
Oh,
because
so they still do the incest thing.
he was torn because he had no. He was torn because he was pulled in different directions from different views. Even his
Yeah.
right hand man, the what's it called? Where the pin they put
Hand
on
of the
him?
King.
Hand of the King was also being, conjuring up his own plans, right? And so you have this guy being pulled in all these directions, and he did a great job of showing emotion and all that stuff. So that's why I have that as my number one. But Better Call Saul was great, man.
I gotta
The
finish that
last
now that it's
season, holy smokes. It just pulls you in that one. That show is awesome. Bob Odenkirk?
Yep.
Yeah.
Odenkirk, yeah.
Did you know he had a heart attack on the show?
Probably.
During the filming, he had a heart attack.
Really?
Yeah. That's why
Fuck.
they had to take a break between one of the seasons. They have to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had a heart attack and he had to get clearance before he could come back in the show. That's
that-
crazy.
That was a show that I've been waiting for it to end, because Breaking Bad, I would say, is probably my all-time favorite
Oh my
show
God.
ever.
Holy
like-
smokes.
It's it's at least top 3 of like best TV shows I've ever seen.
100% agree
From
with
start to finish. And the fact that it finished, I think it makes it so good.
And it finished on a
And
high note. It didn't drag to the point
finished
where
when
people
it
are like,
wanted
"Hey,
to.
you got to stop
That's
this
what I
thing
mean.
now."
They had
Yeah.
to finish. Like there were other shows in that time era. Dexter, for example. Like I love Dexter when that show was on, but there was a clear drop in budget and giving a shit.
I
where
never
they're
watched a
just like,
single episode of that.
Dexter's great until the last season where they clearly lost all their money and they're like, oh, this quintessential scene that happens almost every episode, yeah, we're gonna green screen it now. And you're like, oh, I can tell. And then the final episode is just like, oh yeah, he fucks off to Canada and becomes a lumberjack or something. And
As you do.
you're like, okay.
As you do, yeah.
And there's apparently a new season that just came out. I still need to watch it because apparently it's good. But anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, so what's your top?
so my top TV show,
Worst and good.
Okay, worst is Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Yep.
Any runner-ups?
I mean, Willow starting.
No, it's not over yet. You can't.
I know it's not over, but
No.
Looking like it.
I
not biased
didn't
here.
really watch anything else that pissed me off.
Fair enough. Worst movie.
Everything else was either
Worst movie.
Worst movie. Fuck, I gotta think of what movies I saw. Probably Black Panther.
Okay.
Mm.
Fair enough.
But I watched it and I was like, oh, there's problems everywhere, and then it was just like it just was.
All right, this is your point of view, so it doesn't matter what other people's point of view.
Yeah. But then I realized, like, again, when I saw it, my sister was sitting in front of me and she was losing her shit and like cried in the beginning and then was like having so much fun. And I was like, oh, okay, this movie isn't for me. So like from a technical standpoint, I can pick it apart and say why it's shit. But like
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
yeah. But like I know why it exists. But anyway, I was
I still don't
disappointed
know
with that
why
movie.
it exists to this day.
Yeah. Best movie, I was telling Nathan while you were setting up, is A Violent Night.
Oh, is that the one with the guy from
Stranger Things? Yeah.
Okay.
I watched
Good?
that like a couple days ago. It has no reason to be this good.
Does that have some people telling me Home Alone references?
Oh, there's a bunch of Home Alone references in it.
Really?
The girl like makes a bunch of
It has to be.
Yeah, so the movie is like, and I've told Nathan all of this already, but like it's like a bunch of like writers and directors and stunt coordinators got together and they were like, all right, people are mad that everyone's saying that Die Hard's a Christmas movie, so fuck it, let's make an action movie that's actually a Christmas movie that people can say is a Christmas movie. So it's like I don't give a shit about spoiling it because it's just an amazing theater popcorn action movie.
Okay.
Don't
spoil it for me. I want to watch it.
No, this guy
Yeah.
he goes to his family,
okay, that's good. That's
super
enough.
rich mom, and then this is all in the trailer. Like I'm not giving anything away. They get kidnapped by these people who try and steal their money, and then Santa Claus, who's played by the guy from Stranger Things, is real and he shows up to get presents, but then the assassins are there, and then he has to fucking kill them. And then
okay, that's good enough.
Amazing.
Again, all this is in the trailer. Like there's no
Sick.
subtext, there's
I can't
no
wait.
like
I can't
hidden
wait to
meaning or
watch
whatever. Actually, there's a couple things that you learn about Santa's backstory that you're like, oh fuck, that's cool. And then there's again in the trailer you see him like murder people with like a candy cane through the throat, with a star from the top of a Christmas tree, and just like bludgeons people. It's so bloody, it's so violent.
Don't take kiddies
And
to this, folks. Do not take
don't-
kiddies.
Fuck it, do it, whatever.
No, don't listen to him.
Santa's
Or
real,
him.
and that's
Don't
what
listen to
this
him.
movie
He's a bad elf. He's a bad
solidifies.
elf.
He kills people.
He's not Batman. Santa kills people. It's fine.
Anyways, okay. Yeah. So best
But
TV show.
the action and the stunts and the fight scenes are so good. Like every person who's in this movie is a stunt actor, and it was just a reason for all of them to have work. And again, this movie has no reason being this good. My girlfriend and I went and saw it. We're just like, yeah, fuck it, we'll go see this. This looks fun, and we were just. Oh, also too, there's no one in the theater. We went there. We were the
Wow.
only people in the theater.
What a disgrace.
No, it was great because we just got to yell and.
No, not for you guys. I meant like it's a disgrace that people don't recognize this movie.
I think that's
you know what?
honestly a lot of like recession and like inflation shit.
Yeah, because like when I went to watch the Halloween, what's it, Halloween Ends movie?
Oh, I saw that too. Yeah.
It was me, my friend, and my brother. That was it. Not a single person in the theater.
I'm glad you two are having easy time to get tickets. I couldn't even get Avatar for this whole weekend. Avatar is fully booked at my local theater for the whole
Yeah, but that's
weekend.
Dude, go to
Avatar.
Are you going to Strawberry Hill?
No, I'm going to the Guilford one.
Go to Strawberry Hill. That one's fucking dead all the time.
Yeah, but it's a garbage theater. I don't want to go to that one. No offense. to
Whatever.
you,
Nobody's
Cineplex.
there.
Cineplex, I like you guys because we work with you guys, but you need to upgrade your seats. I just realized
we
that
either go to Strawberry Hill or we go to the Cineplex in Coquitlam.
No, I
Those
go to the
ones
one.
are always
I go
dead.
to my. No offense to you guys, Cineplex, but y'all gonna need to upgrade your seats because the way I go to Landmark Theater in Guilford because they have amazing seats
Yeah.
and amazing
We
hot
go
dogs.
VIP though.
They got Chicago hot dogs over there.
Ooh.
It's so good.
We always go VIP though. So
Yeah,
we get we get burgers and drinks and shit.
Cineplex and Strawberry has VIP.
No, they do sometimes for select theater stuff.
Yeah, so I ended up getting Monday at daytime Avatar, which works fine because my kids are on holiday. In the daytime, I'm going to go with them and watch it, and then that following evening, we're having what do you call it? Just get together. I've invited some big YouTubers to come on. I say big. I think they're
Mr.
big.
Beast.
No,
Oh,
Mr.
Beast is
not-
coming.
He messaged me, said, unfortunately, I can't make it.
Here's
but
10 grand.
Yeah. Here's 10 grand to give away to some random person.
Yeah.
No, I've got some worthy people in the community that I think are nice people, and they're coming on. So we're just gonna crack open a cold one and just talk about the year in review of figures. We're gonna stick to figures only. By the way, I was showing Nathan this Electra figure. Look at the hair.
Ooh.
Yeah, she looks phenomenal.
Sick.
So, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. But yeah, and then I'll talk about Avatar on January when we come back. We're taking a week off, but you guys aren't taking a week off. I'm going to be in Cabo with you guys. Hopefully, my headphones.
We're going to Cabo?
No, I'm going to Cabo. You're not going to
He's
Cabo.
going to Cabo. We're not
I'm going to be
Cabo.
having my iPod,
What
AirPods.
day are we doing that?
I believe it's the 25th.
First? Is it the 25th? Wait, the 25th.
No, that's
The
a Sunday.
Christmas Day?
Yeah.
No. We're going to be on the 28th.
Yep.
Cabo
Okay.
is 28 for me. 21st, I'm still here. But 28th, I'm in Cabo. And I'll do a live from there. Hopefully, my wife doesn't
Deal.
destroy me for doing that. But
Get her on.
Yeah,
Make her
yeah.
watch the show.
Let me get right on that, Nathan. I mean, Justin.
I'm Justin. Hi.
Yeah. Let me just
It's
get.
just
right
because we're
on
both
that.
white. We look the same.
Oh my God! All right, that's my cue to leave.
We both wore leather jackets in the beginning. It's fine.
Anything? Oh, by the way, look at this. We got our resident customizer Brad on our show. Made this.
Holy shit.
It's an A&R.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the A&R logo.
Is that going to be inbox?
It is inboxed.
No,
We're gonna-
is it going to be like
So
forever
here's the thing. I
inbox?
announced it in our weekly is every quarter of the year, starting this coming up, he's gonna make one for every quarter of the year to give away, and we're gonna keep one in house. So we're gonna give one away, and this is just the beginning. This is just GI Joe. We're also doing
This is
superheroes.
just
We're doing
the
superheroes
beginning.
with the A&R logo on there as well.
100%. I know you're going to do a Superman as soon as you can.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
already have a Superman figure coming, and he's going to work on it. D also is going to work on some characters to give away with the A&R logo. We also have a shirt that's going to be made soon. We had people on our last episode because we do a new show called Mighty Mornings, which talks about 80s, 90s, and early 2000 cartoons and figures. So we did a logo, the beaver. I don't know if you guys seen it. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
Have you seen it,
The
Nathan?
beaver.
I'll bring it up right now.
Yeah, bring it up if you don't mind.
Beaver to beaver? No.
It's called the
Frankie
Mighty.
Muniz has nothing to do with this show.
It's called the Mighty Beaver, and it was my idea, and then it was D's creation. I mean, his imagination. My imagination, D's skill set of drawing this. So we collided. I'm like, hey, D, this is what I want. This is what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of a beaver that's got the Superman body. What can we do something with the
And
A&R
D
colors?
was just like, don't worry.
He's like,
Elvin,
hell yeah. He goes,
I
I
know
love that
you're
idea.
always thinking of the beaver.
And so he created this, the Mighty
Oh,
Beaver.
damn. Okay, that's cool. When you said beaver with the Superman's body, I was like, what the hell does he mean?
Jack
That looks
Beaver,
good.
obviously.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
So people in the chats in our weekly is like, we want a shirt of this. So I'm like, okay, we'll work on something to get a shirt of this. I said, our boy Justin knows a guy, and we could probably make a shirt of this. And his name is Mighty Beaver, aka his real name. His real name is Leave It, right? I thought about
Frankie.
this. His real
Frankie,
name is...
Leave It, Mighty Beaver.
There you go, Frankie, Leave It, Mighty Beaver. So that is his name. Yeah,
so many references.
People want that, and people also
Speaking
want
of Bryan Cranston.
What happened to him?
He was in Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, Malcolm. Yeah, he's the dad. Yeah, that's crazy. Also, people want popcorn chicken, but they want popcorn chicken with a Jedi cloak.
Ooh.
And a
We do
lightsaber.
talk a lot about Star Wars.
Whoa. Is this a Kenobi reference? I refuse to be part of anything that affiliates us with the Kenobi show.
So they said popcorn chicken needs alter ego. That's what they need. He needs his dark side. So I said, okay, what about a black cloak with the red lightsaber, and you just see his eyes glowing a little bit only. But the popcorn but the popcorn is still in his hands.
Yeah, of course.
But the other hand has a red.
He's
red
still
lightsaber.
hungry.
Yeah.
So we might get D to work something like that. But yeah, that's all I got for today, folks. You guys want to add anything before we sign off?
Willow, please get better. We've been.
Yeah, Willow, can you just fucking be good?
It's
improving. It's improving.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't think it's going to improve to the point where we're going to love it.
No, I'm not expecting.
I think it's going to be just crawl over the finish line.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
If they could just get better at explaining story beats and plot points.
Maybe
the thing that you fucking do when you write something.
The biggest surprise for me this year with all of us is there's so many movies and TV shows that we all agree on, but the one that we couldn't do was Andor. And it shocks me.
And it's a hard disconnect.
It shocks me because I think about this all the time when I'm sitting around. I'm like, how the hell do we all agree on so many movies and TV shows, but we cannot agree on this show? It bothers me. And I look deep in my soul and I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Do I have darkness clouding me? Right? What have I done
the things
wrong?
that we don't agree on too, it's always just like, oh, I think this is shit. And then one person's like, I found it entertaining. And the person who's saying that it was shit was just like, okay, I could see it. But like Andor, it's like, I think this is a beautiful piece of art. And Elvin is just like, it's the worst fucking thing I've ever seen. And I hate it. And I'm just like, I don't understand that.
It is. And I'm not even going to try to.
I'm so proud of that show. Like, I have pride for Andor.
I'm proud of us diving in and giving our honest opinion for that show.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm proud
absolutely.
of that.
That was
nobody can ever call us.
No matter what each of us said, we stuck to our guns.
Yeah. Nobody can ever call us shills.
Yeah.
Ever. If ever somebody calls us out, we should be like, watch the Andor reviews.
We'll roll the tapes back. We'll roll the tapes back at Andor and you tell us that.
Yeah. Somebody had a mental breakdown while other people were like, I was moved by this.
That guy right there, Nathan. He had a mental breakdown.
How did I have a breakdown? Totally.
I was trying to calm him down.
Yeah.
I seem to remember that Alvin's mic cut out at one point.
Hold on. You're cutting off there, Nathan. You're cutting off there. You're cutting off there, buddy. Don't you have to go to bed now and study?
I should. I've got a paper due tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I
gotta go make 5 videos.
All right. Well,
Oh, my light just died. It's time to get the fuck off the internet. All right.
By the way, our short blew up this morning today.
Did it?
We mentioned that at the start of the
How
podcast.
much of it blew up now? I checked it a while ago.
It's over 800.
And I know why. Because I put a
800.
butt in the thumbnail.
800 views. That's awesome.
Sick.
All right, gentlemen, say bye.
Bye, internet.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.